Hello, I'm Eugene Marshall of Arcanist Press and Sigil Entertainment, and this is Sigil Spotlight. We are a diverse community of tabletop industry creators spotlighting each other's work. This session, we're playing It Hungers, a D&D adventure by our own Basheer Ghouse. It is available on DM's Guild. There's a link below this Twitch stream on it to that adventure. One of our other players, Cliff Moore, is also going to be playing his Way of Endless Tides monk. There's a link to the website that he's a part of, Spilldale Studios below as well. Now, before we begin, I'd like to thank Sigil Entertainment for supporting this stream and providing our graphics and overlays. I'd like to thank Roll20 for providing our lovely virtual tabletop, and Wizards of the Coast, and our own creators for making tonight's fun possible. Now, to make sure it stays fun, we are employing safety tools. So, thanks to Bree Bo Sheldon, Lauren Bryant Monk, Kenna Shaw, and Monty Cook Games for providing the tools we've used and are using. See the show notes below for more info on those. So I will have one content warning. Today's session does include some memory manipulation. Indeed, it could be interpreted as gaslighting. Now, no players will have that experience, but some characters might. NPCs or PCs perhaps. But that is not a... Well, that's just something that might happen in the adventure, so I wanted to let everybody know in advance. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and begin by introducing ourselves. I'll go around the room here, so to speak, the virtual room, the Zoom room, and ask each of you to introduce yourselves, say your pronouns, and say a little bit about what you do in tabletop gaming, and then tell us a little bit about your character. I'm Eugene Marshall. My pronouns are he, him, or they, them. I am the GM, so... Let's go to Linda.
Unmuted. Okay, I'm unmuted. Hi, I'm Linda. I use they, them pronouns. I'm a writer and an author, and I write mostly indie games and adventures for Dungeons & Dragons and Powered by the Apocalypse. You can find my most recent work in the most recent edition of the Gauntlet Codex, which is yellow. And that's in May for anyone listening in the future. Weird. There's going to be a future, guys. I promise.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. All right. And whom are you playing today?
Oh, I am playing a changeling bard named Mesali Temple.
Mesali. Lovely. All right. I'll save Basheer for last since it's his adventure. Gabrielle?
I'm Gabrielle Harboe. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a full-time editor of fantasy and science fiction. I've written 3 novels, including a Pathfinder Tales tie-in novel, and I've written for Pathfinder PFS Society and Dungeons & Dragons Adventures League. My character today is Dusk, who is a non-binary half-orc rogue.
Fantastic. Cliff, introduce yourself and your character, please.
Hi, I'm Cliff Moore. Pronouns he, him. I am a designer and editor for Spilldale Studios. And today I'll be playing the rascally monk, Brother Wren, who is a monk of the Endless Tides.
Fantastic. And Basheer.
Hi, I'm Basheer Ghouse. I'm an indie RPG writer and freelance writer in the RPG industry. I've done work for Spire, Paizo, Kobold Press, and I publish my own stuff at havocvet.itch.io. It Hungers is an adventure I wrote about... well, we'll probably get into the spoiler elements at the end of it, but it is based heavily on memory issues that I had due to some conditions, which I'll talk about later, that I used for this. It is a horror one-shot available on DM's Guild, which is a bit of an odd thing to design for in D&D, as it's a system largely based around empowering the players to kill things. But I still occasionally get players from the first playtests of this talking about how it gave them nightmares, so I think it worked out pretty well.
All right. So I guess this is where I say you have been warned, everyone. All right. So fantastic. Let me move us to the character screen here. Ooh. All right, so now your character names are below. All right, so our adventure begins outside of, you're actually in the countryside, and you have heard about bandits hitting trade caravans crossing one of the nearby mountain passes. Indeed, the nearby town from this pass that you've just arrived in has had a single survivor reach it. And she claims that she saw these bandits attacking the caravan and taking prisoners. So there's been attacks for some time that people have been talking about, but this is the first time there's been a witness. And so they've now learned that they're not just killing people, they're taking people prisoner. And so the town council, seeing hardy level 5 adventurers come into town and knowing that this is their kind of dirty work, not the simple townsfolk here, have hired you to rescue their fellow citizens. Indeed, a hefty purse is being offered of 200 gold per rescued prisoner, and an additional 300 gold if you can kill the leader of the bandits. So the escapee has since recovered and is available to answer questions, as is the town council. So the council chief and the survivor are there before you depart into the wilderness to track down the location where they are believed to have been dragged off into, or the direction, I should say. Are there any questions you had before setting off on your journey for the survivor? She says, I can tell you whatever you think is useful. I saw them taking 8 prisoners. I don't know. It was kind of cloudy. I had oatmeal for breakfast. I mean, what else is relevant? I'm a little scattered right now. It's been a difficult week. So, let's hear from our characters, Dusk, Ren, Mesali, and Mutalib. What do you think? Is there anything you'd like to ask or do to prepare or learn before departing on your rescue mission?
Yes.
Can I help you? So first, before we begin, I must know, what does Mesali look like right now, being a changeling?
I think right now she's just come off like a portrayal of Macbeth, and she looks very princely. I think that she looks really, really beautiful, but like haggard, like designer bags under her eyes kind of bullshit. You know what I'm talking about? Like she looks like a prince, but she looks like if you like rolled a prince down a hill a couple times.
As you wish.
So still like absurdly, stupidly pretty, but also just like a little dirty.
All right,
a little dirty.
I can get into that look. All right. So,
yeah.
Mesali, did you have a question for our survivor?
Yes. Can you please tell me the time of day in which you were attacked?
Oh, it must have been mid-morning because, as I said, I had just had my oatmeal. If I don't have my oatmeal, I'm not regular.
Would you say that dawn's light shone gloriously upon your caravan, lighting the way forward, the power, the destiny? You were meant for greatness. You knew it, but you were thwarted.
Is that how it went? It was cloudy.
Cloudy. But the sun, yonder it breaks. Do we know what happened under the clouds? Do we know that the clouds were protecting you? Where were you going? How did you know that danger was just around the corner?
Well, I didn't. But that nosy dwarf and his silly friend Ginny, what were their names? Duemo? Yes, Duemo. Some sort of historian. Would you believe it? A historian. Who does that for a living?
And, what elegant names.
And don't forget Uptill. All three of them. Yeah, Uptill. I believe Uptill was a hobgoblin individual, and Ginny was, she was pleasant enough, just a human. and Dwemer was a nosy dwarf, and they were searching the area for some ruins. And the caravanners were talking about that. So that's what I remember. We were talking about these missing historians of all people. What are historians doing wandering the land when there's bandits about?
Of course, you cannot deny the romance of the ruins.
And then at this point, the town council leader, she says, "Oh, the ruins. Yes, you see, the ruins are of Vanier Keep. It used to belong to the Vanier family, a line of mages, actually, and alchemists. You know, they say that something terrible happened, and the keep, the very keep itself, as well as the family within, disappeared into the ground 500 years ago. Some of their descendants still rule in this region and vicinity, but for now, the keep and its family have collapsed. You know, I did see a local hobgoblin legion sending scouts into the area to find these bandits as well, and they haven't returned either. Trouble, I say."
Of course, sir. I believe that we are the knights errant that you have been searching for all of this time. We're here. We're ready. We are prepared. We are strong. Our convictions are big, like our muscles.
Mathalib just kind of flexes in the background to back her up.
Oh, they're both very impressed. The survivor, Sarana, says, "Well, I hope so, because they had, let's see, goblins. They're like big furry goblins, not orcs, not hobgoblins. No, bugbears. And they had those big ugly wolves that some of the goblin folk like to ride. You know, with the fangs and the face. What are those? Yeah,
Yes,
those. And there must have been
Fangs, the face, of course. Yes, naturally. Such a tawdry man can never be forgotten once you look into the maws of a beast so foul, so egregious, words cannot fully describe the power of such a massive monster, a creature of unknown proportions. It's
exactly. It was
You're
exactly.
describing a ward?
Yes, maybe. You're right. Words can't describe it, except that it was about this tall. It had brown fur. Its fangs were about 3 inches long. It had bad breath. But other than that, not describable. 4 legs, tail, 2 eyes, nose. The one that knocked me down was male.
You got a good look at it.
The angle.
Yeah, I could see that. I'd prefer not to think about it, but I definitely wish I wasn't imagining that right now. Okay.
So the townsfolk, the town council person says, you know, the thing that's significant here, I hope you recognize, is that this person has escaped from the bugbear leader. I've heard this person's name is Varhug, and no one's ever escaped from these bandits. If he's the one leading these bandits, we've never had somebody escape and survive before. So I'm guessing that those people that have been taken, they're in danger, because we've never seen anyone again once those bandits have struck a caravan, like they've been doing for months. Really been a problem. So that's why we would very much like to see if you could rescue them before something untoward happens to them. I mean, bugbears, am I right?
Yes, of course, bugbears. Absolutely. Perhaps we can also know the lineages of the mages, and perhaps where they made their latest domicile, as we are wont to explore all venues of supernatural and otherworldly creatures upon which rise our world life.
Well, the mages. Oh, you mean the Vaniers? Well, they're not mages anymore. They used to be. Then the bad thing happened, and the rest of the family kind of decided maybe not a good idea. So now they're accountants, and they run the guilds in the large city not far from here. Maybe 4 or 5 days ride to the west.
Ren raises his hand and says, so the bad thing, can we back up to that? What was the bad thing that happened? The keep sunk into the ground? Like, are we talking about poor foundation,
Well,
or
we're not entirely sure of exactly what happened, right? Some say they dabbled with forbidden magics, and others say that they were cursed, and still others say that it was just a natural phenomenon, like a sinkhole opened up and just swallowed the castle. And so now there are only ruins there, and much of the castle cannot be seen above ground. There's caves and some remnant of building left, but it's as though the whole place just dropped into the earth. We don't go there.
you guys don't go there. Does anyone else go there? Like,
Bandits might, if it's particularly aggressively avoided.
that's a good point. You make strong points.
That, yes, it's entirely possible that bandits, that's where we believe they've been holding up, but the hobgoblin sent scouts. Some foolish historians wandered out to look, and they never returned.
And you mentioned earlier that there were 8 people in your caravan that were taken.
The Serana, the survivor, says, yes, that's correct. I didn't know them really because, I don't really talk to, common folk. You'd never know, what they'll, they can't be trusted.
And Ren is in just the most threadbare of pirate-looking clothes. I'm like, I completely understand.
Well, I mean, yeah. So then she goes off and tells a ridiculous story about my cousin's brother's sister's nephew was on a caravan just like that. And she was very friendly with all of those people, and someone stole her purse. And so at this point, the town council member is like, okay, Serana, that's enough. We're trying to, these good people are going to help us rescue our missing townsfolk and some of your business partners, right? Yes, I suppose so. If there's anything else we can do, we can provide basic supplies. We don't really have anything exceptional. We can provide rations and rope and backpacks and what other things would you need to explore? Arrows? We have arrows.
Oh, sir, good sir.
Yes.
I require an adventuring outfit.
An adventuring outfit. Well, we do have a clothing shop right over there, actually. Maribeth makes the best fabrics.
This is part of my commission. You must understand. I can't be expected to supply my own costumes.
Okay, well, if you'll want something custom, though, that might take some time. She's got arthritis, and it's slow.
I suppose I will make do.
There, you can get something off the rack, I'm sure.
Yeah, Mesley stalks off to the clothing store.
All right. So is there anything else? So this would be a general kind of, you can imagine that you've stocked up on whatever supplies you need, and I'm happy to do that thing where you're in the dungeon or on the adventure, and you say, oh gosh, it would sure be nice if I had a climbing kit right now. Well, guess what? You probably do. That doesn't go for really exotic things. Like, it would be really great if I had a laser pistol right now. No, probably not. But so we're not going to worry about your encumbrance either, just to put it out there. But okay, so would Mesley like to shop? But before I ask that question, let me move over really quickly to check on Dusk. How are you handling this task here? Is this something that is interesting to you, or are you're willing to participate? I take it. Is there anything you want to do to prepare?
Dusk seems very quiet and serene, and just sort of watches and pays attention. Dusk is thin for a half orc and bald, and kind of sees their body as a blank slate to be turned into whatever sort of costume or disguise the commission requires.
And you are a trickster rogue, I should add.
Yes.
Uh-huh. All right.
And so Dusk Dusk watches and pays attention a lot more than they speak. So they're, they watch the reactions when other people ask questions.
I see. Very well. Would we like to see do you have a particular thing you'd like to get out of the clothing shop for Mesley?
I think that she's really modeling this new look off. I think maybe she might be like a little inspired by Ren a little bit, and so she might be going for like a little bit more of a piratey look. So like if there was anything that was like a longer coat, maybe like a vest that was like a little bit more open at the bustier level. Something like off the shoulder a little bit, maybe like a little tricorn hat. Very swashbuckling. Not practical at all.
Right.
Decorative saber that you're never going to draw.
All right. So 100 is good for you. Let's see what their selection is like. It's very average. So they probably have one or two things that are remotely like that, but you're not going to walk out looking like an authentic swashbuckler. You can make do. It might require some acting on your part.
Yeah. Acting.
Genius.
I think she also like gets a couple scarves and like wraps them around her waist, and she's like, "This'll work. This is great." And she like puts one around the hat, and she's like, "Perfect. This is amazing. I'm doing so good. I'm such a pirate." Like then she like trundles back out. She's like, "Fair adventurers, are you ready to depart on this fair adventure upon which they will sing glorious songs of our defeats and those whom we conquer?"
Adventure.
Our victory. Glorious songs of our victory, hopefully.
Yeah, those we defeat will be our defeats.
So, all right. You have Mesley dressed as an attractive, princely pirate-esque individual. We have Ren in his threadbare, kind of authentic, the real McCoy pirate outfit. We have Dusk. They're kind of being observant and blending in to the scenery when they want. And we have Mutalib. How is Mutalib doing anything in particular? Just ready to travel here?
He's in full armor. He's got kind of one of those Indian mirror plates, like these engraved armor, circular armored plate in the center of his chest as like the centerpiece of his ensemble. But otherwise, he's pretty much in just armor and traveling gear, ready to go, debating grabbing a horse, deciding against it because either you bring 11 or you bring 12 horses and have to drag them on the way over, or you have 4 horses and you've got 8 unmounted people at the end of this rescue mission.
Good point.
Just kind of not worth it.
Yep. So as far as you've heard there's been 8 missing caravanners. Apparently there's also 3 missing historians. And then there's several hobgoblin scouts that also got taken recently. No one's paying you to save them, but just so you know, there might be a whole crowd of people looking to get rescued. So that's a lot of horses. All right. So you follow the instructions that the survivor gives you, and that takes you to a location where down the kind of the high road, and that takes you to a place a day or so outside of town where it's quite clear, yes, there's been some sort of attack here. There's burnt wagons. There's the signs of struggle. There's footprints everywhere. And indeed, there are all kinds of footprints, small footprints, large footprints, 4-legged footprints, and they're quite easy to follow, even though the attack, according to the survivor's timetable, was 2 days ago, right? So the survivor ran away, half a day later, gets into town, recovered, you folks get hired, and you head back out. So it's been about 2 days. Easy enough to track them, though. So if who would like to... let me put it this way. You're in the area where the attack has happened. It might be that you can discern more facts here if you snoop around, or you can pursue the tracks which head off-road into the wilderness. What would you like to do?
So, go ahead.
So I guess the question is, who here is good at tracking? Like, who here's got survival?
Or investigation, if you're investigating the crime scene, so to speak. course, you don't have to be skilled in it to try to roll.
Right.
I can investigate and perceive, but somehow I missed survival in my jack of all trades sort of training. Oops.
Speaking of, bards are always a little bit good at everything. Speaking of jack of all trades. So if anybody would like to roll either investigation to investigate the site of the attack or survival to track the tracks, you'll learn more about what happened here. Otherwise, you can simply follow the tracks and find out where they lead. All right. So while the other three of you are looking around, Dusk takes a knee and examines some of the tracks, and you're able to discern that there was probably something like 30 to 40 bandits. There's a large group, including probably 4 or 5 four-legged, large, full-legged, four-legged, probably wargs, because they're larger than wolves, right? And they seem to have been ridden by goblins.
This one had a hangnail.
Yeah, that's a pretty good roll. So yeah, I think you can determine. This one's got a limp, and that one ate too much today, and I don't know. 16 is not that high. So you're able to follow the tracks. You can tell as well that they were. It looks like they were dragging 2 people, and that they were also marching several others. And so you're able to follow those tracks. Looks like it takes an hour or 2. You're following them. And you arrive as you're heading, following these tracks over the hills, away from the trail, you arrive after some hours of travel at what must be their hideout. It's a barrow of some sort, like an ancient ruin, like a hill with some ruins on it, crumbling moss-covered masonry rising from the soil. There's a chimney here, battlements there. What must be maybe once was part of a tower, with a flag hanging from it. Is sticking out from the dirt. So you can see that it looks like this thing collapsed and was swallowed up, but there's still some of the ruins visible, including a mahogany door emblazoned with the owl bear's rampant, which is the sign of the Vanier family, jutting out of the western side of the hill. So one of the entrances is visible and has this crest on it that you've seen around because it's featured in the region. So that's you first arrive and you see, well, there's a door. That seems to be an easy way in. What would you like to do? There's ruins scattered around here.
Traps.
You want to check it out? Okay.
Yeah, I want to make sure there are no traps on it before we open it.
All right, go ahead. That would be an investigation check.
Okay.
And you mentioned battlements. Does it look like there are guards or anyone posted maybe?
So go ahead and make a perception check to see if you can see, like you're actively checking. You didn't notice anything when you first walked up, right? It looked like there's nobody around, but if you went to actively look, okay, so that's higher than your passive perception by a few. So it looks like, so first Dusk, it looks like there's no trap on this door. It looks like but it does look like it gets used, right?
Okay.
The perception check shows that there's no one around here right now, but there have been. You can see that there's ruins around, but that's about all you can see. It looks like there's some ruins on a hill, and there's a door. People have been here, but aren't here currently.
And can we tell how recently someone may have come through here? How fresh the tracks are, or?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they come and go pretty regularly, so probably in the past day. It looks like this is the front door of a place that is occupied. And standing out front, at least, you're looking around, you don't see or hear anybody else.
Is there a nice set of stones upon which Mesley can sort of artfully perch herself?
Oh yes, absolutely. This is a ruin, so there are pedestals, there are pillars, there are towers, ramparts, battlements, all half submerged in the marshy soil at your feet.
Yeah, I think that she will pick her way over to this ruined wall, and sort of have to hop and skip a little bit to get to it so that she doesn't ruin these new boots that she just got. And I think that she will perch on it and sort of shuffle, like look around to sort of like notice where the light is and like notice where the other adventurers are and like turn to like get a better angle. And she'll just like open her book and just be like, and lo, anon we came upon the ruins. They were beautiful and glorious, a time unknown, remarkable and glorious. And just like continuing, like she's just narrating what everyone is doing. And she's like, and the beautiful orc who was slim and had a fine, fair leg to them, ran across deftly the wooded realm.
So I'd like to hear very briefly what Mutalib, Ren, and Dusk how they feel about the fact that it looks like Mesli is going to be narrating and describing you while this goes on. Is that something that you're comfortable
This is what
with?
bards are for, right? They write things down, they bring it back, and then they make you famous in the aftermath and prove to other nobility that you actually did this thing and that was very impressive and all the embarrassing parts didn't happen.
Okay, so Mutalib is all for the glory that the tale can bring. Ren, Dusk?
Ren just throughout this monologue just stares flatly, and he pulls his water skin and like gestures, and like, you know, water comes out, and just without breaking eye contact with Mesli, just forms the water into a staff. And then when that's done and Mutalib talks about the greatness of bards, he looks at Mutalib and is like, we're gonna die. This is gonna be the one. None of the other times. I had a pretty good feeling about the other times. This one is gonna be it.
I mean, look, weird shadow dragon gods didn't get us. I'm sure a bunch of goblins won't be an issue.
Yes, but there wasn't any monologuing during the Shadow Dragon God Asco fight. What?
That's fair.
So you think? Yeah, go ahead. What about Dusk? Does Dusk have a response? Do you feel? Do they like had their attention
Dusk is
drawn
a
to
little
them?
skeptical. Dusk is not used to getting attention, and pauses and looks down at their leg like, what's the big deal? It's a leg. And then kind of looks around and says, this is not stealthy behavior. Perhaps
Ren,
save your voice for the page.
And Ren points over to Dusk like, see that? Sense.
It's clear I'm outvoted. However, we're several centuries before the advent of democracy. The noble says, let's keep monologuing.
But Dusk might also just...
But noble, don't ye love my tender rhyme? For other was a song that I once heard, a huge oak, steadfast, brave, beautiful.
So the four of you are standing outside of the door to the bandit's lair, having this tense discussion. Yeah. Moment.
Mutalib will, once the initial description of the scene is described, everyone else has given their thoughts, he'll just open the door and kind of try to creak it open so he can get in.
Okay.
And see if that doesn't immediately trigger some sort of horrible trap or fight.
Okay. So I will move you. We have a map, folks. Oh, wait a minute. You guys have been looking at the wrong screen, haven't you? I'm sorry. My people at home haven't been looking at that. That's from a different adventure. Apologies. That was from... Don't mind me. I'm moving through because I've got so darn many of these. I got to leapfrog. There it is. Okay. So hopefully you are all up here and you see yourself in a square, in a room. Yes? Everyone's seeing that on the screen?
Yep.
All right, excellent. So let me give you a description here now that I've got that all set up and the folks at home can see what you can see. So the outer door that you enter here. Make sure I've got the right. There we go. Yes. Okay. So the outer door enters into a spare chamber. It's empty. This is. There's actually some leftover furniture in here. There's a worn table near the back of the room. There's a lamp that's lit, which of course suggests somebody's lit it recently. At the center of the room is a pool of water formed where stones have cracked and buckled. There's a trickle of water from the ceiling that is dripping into the bucket. And it's kind of gross because the water is descending in unnatural viscous strands. Almost like, well, drool.
Was it raining outside while we were discussing history, or?
It was not.
And thus we entered the darkness, veiled, faded, but yet still hopeful, our eyes bright as our lanterns.
Was that it? That you wanted something
Actual rhymes in this story.
And Ren hunches like a 16-year-old going on 65, just weary.
So, as you move forward, Mutalib, some of the water drips onto your shoulder. What's odd is you're not standing above the bucket.
Huh. That's kind of weird. So we don't appear to be in imminent danger. North, east, or south? Say, he kind of turns back just to get everyone else's thoughts on which way to go from here.
I have a question for Lynn about Mazelli. How would you describe Mazelli's presentation? Are we projecting as though from the stage to the back row? Are we talking quietly under one's breath while we write? Or are we orating to our comrades? Or
I definitely think I don't think that she is projecting at this point now that they're not outside, but it's definitely like, she's not trying to be quiet. She's just like, and thus we entered into this grand adventure. What way should we go? North, east, south? So many opinions, but the arrow can only fly one direction. Nonstop.
So to be clear, so Ren and Dusk you can see, but Mazelli and Mutalib, you guys can see the room too, right?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, that's because I set the tokens up for all players. But technically, Mazelli and Mutalib, since you don't have dark vision, this room is dark. There's light coming in from the door behind you. I basically, when I created the sheets, I made everybody have access to all the sheets, so it just saved time. But that technically means that you can only see because two of the characters have dark vision. So technically, Mutalib and Mazelli don't. So if you go forward in any of these three directions, unless there's light, which there's a little bit of light in this room, it will get dark. So just keep that in mind. If you enter a room and I say it's dark, you two are going to have trouble seeing.
Mutalib grabs the lamp.
All right, you have a lamp. There is a lamp here.
And can we see where the liquid is coming from? Is it coming from the wall, or do we need to look up and then hope we didn't?
Well, you can choose to look up. As you can look up, but it seems to be just dripping from the area of the ceiling.
Okay, so there's no oozing creature on the ceiling, was my concern.
You don't see anything up there. It's like there's just a trickle from the ceiling descending in these slimy strands.
That's somehow better, I guess.
So you said it's gathering in a bucket in the center of the room?
Yes, it's gathering in a bucket.
Okay.
It looks like somebody put a bucket there because it was like eating away at the floor, or it was eroding in the place. You're not clear, but the area under the bucket is all kind of eroded or buckled. And,
so if Ren moves towards it and sort of hovers a hand over the bucket to manipulate the water using the shape water cantrip, just wanting to see if it like moves like water, or if it moves like slime or.
It moves like slimy water. This is interesting. I'm gonna say you know how to interpret this because it's a liquid that you're very familiar with. Being and if you have the ability to shape water, it feels like viscous water, like something like spit or sweat or water that's been added some viscous content to it, like cornstarch or something. But yeah, it would be like if you tried to spit and use your magic on it. Feels a little bit like that.
Does it smell at all, or is it weird?
Yeah.
Weirder than that.
It smells kind of rotten.
So yeah, Ren basically moves and lifts the water out, like just so that it's spiraling, and then sniffs at it, and then blanches, and then just gestures so that the water goes back into the bucket. It's like,
yeah, it's gross. It's not just dirty water. It's like slime.
And he looks up and he says, even if this was sitting here for, I don't know, weeks, rainwater doesn't do that.
Worrying.
So the thing is when your characters, Ren reports that this is slimy like spit, and Mutalib, when it splashed on your shoulder, it looked like that too. But now that you look at it again, the other two of you, in particular Dusk and Mazelli, it really just looks like water to you. It's not that weird looking. It's just clear liquid pouring from the ceiling of a sunken building. So about this time, you hear a noise to the east, because after all, you've been standing there discussing, not particularly quietly. And you hear not just a noise, but a shouted word. So just for example, I don't know why I'd ask this question. Does anybody speak Goblin?
I do not.
Well,
not here.
Because a goblin is coming out the door right now, but more goblins at his back. So the room to the east is like a little crowd of goblins have been lining up and on 3, and they are charging out the door as we speak. So we should go ahead and have an initiative roll. So if you want to see what goblins, here they are. Here's some goblins. That's the regular goblin, and the little goblin boss wearing the black armor there. Let me get my little turn order of Bubby up. So these goblins come charging out as quite clearly at the command of the one leading, and they are going to run at you angrily. They don't like you.
Sorry, I got a 16, but I didn't click my token first.
That's all right. I've added you. So I'm going to do the regular goblins in a block, because I don't want to roll that many times, because I am a lazy person. All right. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So because of the discussion you guys had at a kind of lengthy discussion and oration at normal volume, someone in the next room was able to hear, and some goblins start charging out of this room with their weapons drawn. They're small, so they're about 4 feet tall. One of them runs right up here into this position and is going to swing a rusty scimitar at Mutalib. Whoops, just the first one counts. I double clicked, but that's going to clang off of your shining mirror plate. The one behind us is, you could tell it must be the boss, because they're barking orders and seem to be slightly larger than the others. Throws a javelin. Does not engage. That's why they're the boss. Though it just clatters against the wall behind you all. Dusk. So there are some goblins here. Pesky. Well, they're trouble. Irritants mostly. What would you like to do?
I would like to kill some.
Very well. Well, that was their plan for you. I just want you to know.
No, that's fair then. So I'll start with the one right in front of me, because, if I try to get anybody else, he's going to swing at me anyway.
Probably true. All right. So this goblin comes scampering up and clangs his rusty scimitar off of Mutalib's plate, and you're using a rapier, and it just collapse unceremoniously to the ground. They're not particularly hardy creatures, the goblin. You can move around if you like. If you have anything else available to you to do, you can. Otherwise, these goblins are going to quickly learn they made a poor life choice.
I will move up to here and ready myself to attack the leader as he enters the room.
Okay. So that'll be, you'll do that on next round because he's already moved. All right. It is Ren's turn. So you could see there's a crowd of goblins waiting that hadn't been able to come out, but they're going to be pouring out here in a moment.
And Ren looks at Mutalib and says, "This is what I was talking about. This right here."
No, yeah, now I see your point. I understand your point pretty well now. I've got to agree with you.
And 16 going on 65 again. He just sort of slumps forward and moves to the other side of the door. And then he's going to hold action to start attacking anything that comes out.
All right. Mutalib, so one came up and clanged a scimitar off of you, and Dusk stepped up and just rapier right through this creature and said, and it collapsed to the ground. This goblin boss is standing in the doorway, threw a javelin and missed, and behind him, you could see teeming little pile of goblins are about to charge out. What would you like to do?
All right, I'm just going to move. Or wait, Ren, have you finished your turn?
Yeah, I'm holding action. So
okay. Yeah, I will move up and start swinging at the Goblin Boss.
All right.
Let's. 15?
That is a hit.
All right. Is he using his reaction for anything there, or?
Let's see. I don't believe he has one. Nope. Let's see the target. Yes, in fact, he might. I forgot he has this one. Thank you for reminding me. He within 5 feet. So he swings this classic goblin. You come up and swing your blade, and the goblin boss sees you. His eyes get big. He grabs the goblin behind him and throws that goblin in front of him. And so your attack actually hits the one behind him, and cuts into this goblin, who is now on the ground underneath this particular fella here.
All right, 10 misses, I believe.
Yeah,
so.
Having a goblin thrown at you by another goblin was not what you expected to happen today. So you're a little off balance at this site, and your second swing goes high. So unless there's anything else?
No, that's me.
All right.
That was...
We move to the goblins. So you guys have successfully blocked the door, so they can't get out. So they just have to stack up behind and shoot arrows at people. So they kind of move around, and they're trying to shoot over their friends and through a crowded doorway. Everybody outside the door has 3/4 cover because of that. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 have a shot at you. So the 4 lined up here. This is at Mutalib. 1, 2, all with 3/4 cover. So add 5 to your armor class, which is all those are gonna miss.
Yeah, all of those miss. My AC is 25 against these attacks right now. I am
because of the +5, right?
Very safe. Yes.
Yeah. So these arrows actually, the first 3 of the arrows just clatter against the door frame. One of them goes way high. One of them bounces easily off of your armor. But one of them, the last fellow who rolled a nat 1, shoots his companion in the back. The one that you hit that got thrown forward, right? So the guy who had 1 hit point, and an arrow caught him in the back, and he collapses, done in by his arch rival in the Goblin Gang, as everyone knew would happen one day. The other 2 goblins can't really do anything. One of them is foolishly going to run up and swing at you, Mutalib, with his scimitar, and I say foolishly because he can't end his turn there. He has to back away. He also dropped his scimitar. He tries to squeeze past the Goblin Boss. Hits, and the feeling of hitting the blade on the armor, the blade shakes and it just drops right out of his hand. Now he jumps backwards, and you can get an attack of opportunity on him.
I will take that attack of opportunity.
Because he can't stay on top of his boss. And that's enough of that goblin. 18
and an insta-kill. So I like to think I just kind of grab the sword off of him and stab him as we retreat.
Don't do that. All right, so Mesli, your companions have kind of walked up to this door where these goblins are fairly fruitlessly hurling arrows and javelins and blades at them. Anything you'd like to do? Stand back and record this heroic event?
Oh yeah, this doesn't seem like a job for me, honestly. I think that these sturdy, stout fellows and other folk have it handled, and I'm just going to sit back and write down the idles of their intense, furious pushback of these goblins that stood no chance and were truly outclassed by some remarkable people, and just some very fascinating sword jockeying going on over in that direction. I'm going to just let them keep doing that. They seem to have a handle on that. Mm-hmm.
All right.
She is actually going to she's actually going to cast Blade Ward.
All right.
Yeah. So she's just like, and thus with a word I will turn away arrows and blades and make myself a castle. Mm-hmm. Yes.
There you go. So Vesely is recording things from a safe vantage point, let's call it.
Yes, faithfully recording.
Yes, the Goblin Boss.
Only minimal hyperbole.
Yeah, in that case, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. This is not, it's kind of crowded up there. There's not really much room anyway. So the Goblin Boss standing in front of you swings his scimitar twice, the second time kind of weakly at you, Mutali, because he's a little off balance. And so what that means in mechanical terms is he has disadvantage on the second attack. And so both attacks miss. In fact, another natural one, that's 3 in a row for the goblins. That's a, 1 in 8,000 chance. So there you go. It's going well. It's a good day for the goblins. So he hits off of your armor once again, and on the follow through, he tries to get a second swing in, drops his blade, but he does use his nimble escape because he realizes this is a futile effort to just run away and hide in a corner. It is now the rest of the goblins pile in, actually, and so they see their boss running away, and this one runs up and just closes the door. And you could see into the room, it seemed to be just like they were using it as like a bunk hall. So that one just closes the door, and you hear shouting in Goblin as you hear the sounds of furniture being dragged around.
Yeah, that's fair.
So it's first though Dusk gets to react, and then Ren and Mutalib next. So Dusk, it looks like they are beating a hasty retreat.
Well, I kind of feel cheated by this. Where's my fight? Come on, goblins.
It's right through that door. I mean, there's no lock on the door.
Can I use my dex reflexes to stick my foot in the door before they can close it?
So, I mean, yeah, so it's starting swinging closed, and you're not quite in front of the door, but, I mean, it's not locked. You can just open it. You get a free object interaction each round. So, if you try to do that, there might be a contested, like they're trying to hold it closed, you're trying to hold it open, and then you could have a contested strength check.
I'm looking at us, and I'm looking at them, and I'm not too worried about that.
Okay. So, go ahead and make a strength check. So, you're able to get your hand on the door, right? That's not a problem. The issue is just whether they can keep it closed or not. Because they're like,
no, you don't.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yes. Dusk rolls the nat 20. Yeah, you just rip this door open, and a goblin tumbles out onto the ground in front of at Mutalib's feet. And then the other goblins you can see are trying to move like beds in front of the door. And they're like, oh, and they say things in Goblin that sound, you don't speak Goblin, none of you, but you're pretty sure they just said, oh shit. Right, is what that boils down to. So there's a goblin prone on the ground in front of you. You still have your action. That was your free object interaction. And then there's an open door with goblins that have short bows that are now raising at you. But they spent their action, and they've got a barricade now. They've got a bed in front of them that gives them partial cover. You could quite easily step over it or onto it, but first there's a goblin on the ground in front of you.
I think I will basically plow through that goblin and keep moving. So
Okay.
With my rapier.
Go ahead and plow. All right. He doesn't have his. So he is on the ground. So he doesn't have his shield. He had been trying to close a door. So that means 13 is the number you need to hit him. He is injured. He's not dead. Although he's prone, so you get advantage anyway. But so he is badly injured, with a hole in his back.
And my intent is to keep moving and let him get his attack of opportunity on me. I don't care.
All right.
I don't.
He weakly swings at you from the ground, and he does, and it whiffs. It doesn't hit. So you can move into the square behind him if you like, but that would be.
So here.
Yeah, the one inside the next room.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one right there, exactly. So Ren, Dusk has pulled the door open with surprising strength, stabbed and stepped over the goblin that tumbled out, and is now facing the room full of goblins. What would you like to do?
So Ren sees this and he nods like, "Oh, okay, all right. Well, that's different. Okay, moving in a good direction." But then he sees the goblin just, squirming on the ground, like stabbed in the back, and then he hears the scrabbling of the other ones inside, and he calls around the corner to them like, "If you tell us where the people are, then we stop killing. If you can understand me. If you can't, that's unfortunate. But if you can, now's the time."
Make a persuasion check. Well, let me put this. Is this persuasion or deception? You tell me.
For him, it's persuasion.
Okay. Go ahead and roll that. All right. So, one of the goblins, the goblin on the ground, badly injured, and who's just gotten stepped on, says, in a broken sort of comment, "They're in the cell. They're in the cell. Deeper in the ruin. We don't have no prisoner here. We just guard." And then one of the goblins behind is like cursing at them in Goblin for, answering you, and they're very disappointed in their nearly dead companion right now. The Goblin Boss, however, is building a little like shelter to hide in the back. So they've got like 2 beds that are stacked up, and so they have 3/4 cover, and they're like getting ready to, throw javelins at people from behind a little barricade. Is there anything else you'd like to do, Ren?
So, assume he can't hear from right there, but does it sound like the rest of them are dropping weapons or preparing to move? Or
No, it sounds like 1 or 2 of them are trying to, let's say half, basically, because it's 5. So let's say half of them roughly are willing to just want you to go away. And half of them are ready to fight if you come in the room. I mean, they were all ready to hide a minute ago. So,
okay.
But some
Can
of
I
them
say something else, or is this a long 6 seconds here?
Yeah, well, I would. So speaking is free, but if you want to keep talking, then you'll use your action. But you can
Okay.
Say
I'll use my action then. So, Ren says, "Dusk, you go with that, or is it still stabbing time?"
They have offered us their surrender. I feel we're obligated to accept it.
Well,
Us, the noble Mutalib, asked to spare the what's another word for dirty?
oh my God. They can hear you. I will put up my sword and say, "I accept your surrender if one of your party leads us to the cages."
The Goblin Boss in the back barks something in Goblin, and then the other goblins are like, "Oh, yeah, him, he do it." the one on the ground that's nearly dead, who spoke. So they throw their friends, their quote unquote, well, not friend, clearly, their fellow to you, and like he's the scapegoat. You know, take him. Oh man.
Okay with
Okay.
that.
Dawn, intelligent and wise, bargained with the goblins and created for us an opportunity, a welcome distraction. We have now a guide.
Yes. You
I
do.
kind of like pull the goblin back up onto his feet, dust him off, pretending we weren't, about to kill him a second ago. So, do you have a name or preferred description for the inevitable novelization of this?
And he says, I will be your guide, which strangely appropriate. My name, Guidelin.
Guidelin. I love it.
That's extremely convenient. That's prophetic naming as far as...
Well, it loses something in the translation. From the
All right.
Ren looks up at the
so-
ceiling.
Just a
So,
line
which
of
way to the
drool.
cells?
The cells, yes, cells. And then you let Guidelin go? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. You go that way. He points to the north. Or that way. He points to the south. Probably that way faster. He points to the south. That way, wargs. He points to the north. That way, hallway. Then door.
Hallway sounds a lot better to me than wargs. Is anyone else real insistent on wargs?
No, not today.
All right.
Fair enough.
So Guidelin says, that way, hallway, then door, then, well, bugbear. Then door, cell. You have that
Wait,
where
pardon me. Good goblin, sir. You,
he looks around like, who are you talking to? Oh, me? Oh,
yes, you, fair of heart and light of foot. Do you think that you can just elaborate a little bit on the said bugbear that you briefly mentioned down the hallway? A bugbear?
through door, bugbear guard, prisoner.
Mhm.
Prisoners.
Yes. The bugbear guards the prisoners. Is this bugbear a kindly sort, perhaps?
Bugbear beat Guidelin. So, typical bugbear.
And is
Olive
there
just kind of creaks the south door open while the conversation's happening and steps in on his own, just like,
Peeking.
you keep going, but
I'm
just
with
gonna
you. Yeah.
peek in.
Let them chat.
So,
Is there perhaps a
Yeah.
reason with this bugbear? Is there something that he wants? Perhaps a nice new hat, or his name in forever enshrined in a play?
He like eating jerky?
Jerky. I have jerky. Excellent. No explorer is without one. And what good pirate is without their salt pork?
Oh, not pork. Caravaner.
Oh. Well, we just won't tell him. It'll be fine.
So Guidelin then says, okay, I tell you, I go now, right? Thank you.
Once we find the prisoners, you
Oh.
go. Like, we need to make sure you're not giving us bad information here.
Guidelin would never lie. Guidelin only tell truth. Ever. That why Guidelin not have many friends. Most goblins are not nice. I tell them that. They don't like me. So about this time, Mutalib steps into the hallway and sees that it is a long hallway lit by... Actually, you probably can't see much in there. Let me just go ahead and turn on global illumination. So I will assume that... or No, you've got a lamp. Let me give you your lamp. Pardon me.
I can also use the dancing lights cantrip.
You could. So,
Always useful.
I myself, as a player, enjoy the dynamic lighting feature. So Mutalib, you can now see, Basheer, you can see what Mutalib can see. So you see down the hallway, you can see a door on the south. And actually, I will make it so that everybody can see your light, because that's a cool thing we can do. So now Dusk can see that, Ren, for example, could see if he went around the corner as well, that Mutalib has got a light. All right, so you step into the hallway, and down the hallway there's also dim circles, because there are all down the hall, just above head height. It's kind of like sconces with light in them. But somehow it's still dim and kind of crowded and claustrophobic in here. The shadows are playing across the walls and doors of the hallway, despite the light. It's kind of oppressive in here, unpleasant. So Guidelin says, you go first, saying to Ren and Mesli.
And Ren, steps over to the doorway, looks in at the goblins, and sort of shakes the staff at them, and then closes the door. Yeah. Like, no, sir. I am a professional liar. I know the game. So you go first. And like he steps behind Guidelin and sort of jabs him with the end of the staff, prod him forward.
Guidelin says, "Oh, careful! That were mean person. That were mean orc stabbed me. That one points at Dusk.
I pray that you don't assault our guide."
Yeah. It's rough all over, buddy. Keep going.
So, all right.
I'm sure that were he treated kindly, his nature would befit the treatment given.
Guidelin nods and says, "That's right. Listen to strange person. You should."
Exactly.
I've been listening to strange person for a long time.
So,
what? Ren, I'm not going anywhere. I'm lowering down. You're just right for the theater. I don't understand why you don't just enjoy my presence more.
Yeah. And Ren is full on like moody teenager. Just.
Good God. Guidelin, however, thinks that Mesli's rhetoric is really impressive.
That's great.
So, Mutalib, you've kind of entered this hallway and left your friends behind only like 20 feet, but you're kind of almost alone in this hallway. And you're approaching this door that's to the south, where Guidelin had suggested was the prisoners beyond some ways. And somebody's right behind you, breathing on your neck.
I wheel around as fast as possible, because I'm pretty sure I'm ahead of the rest of the group.
So, Mesli, you're going to cast... Sorry to interrupt. You're going to cast Dancing Lights, right? Okay. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mutalib, you swirl around, and no, there's nobody there. Dusk, you see them just coming into the hallway from the corner. That's strange to you. But you swore if somebody was just breathing on the back of your neck. It was very unsettling, in fact. All right. Dusk, you step into the hallway and you see Mutalib standing there with the lamp. Mesli, kind of light emerges from behind you and flashes onto the wall of the hallway in front of you for when Mesli casts Dancing Lights. Ren, you're in the hallway as well. So you're in this hallway. There's a door on the south, and it seems to be it's closed. What would you like to do? And Guidelin's pointing, but quietly. He steps into the hallway and keeps his distance. He doesn't want to get more than 5 feet. He never wants to get like within poking range of Dusk. So he waits for Dusk to like leave the area by the doorway before inching out. And once they've moved, then Guidelin joins you all in the hallway and points at the door directly south of Mutalib and is like, "Dusk, their prisoner, their bugbear, and then their prisoner, and then Guidelin go home." Well, not home.
Okay.
Yes.
I will go join Mutalib at the door so that
Then Guideland
the
finds
little
a new
goblin
home. Starts a career in the theater or as a wilderness out guide. Or, something besides murderous bandit.
Guideland says, he whispers, Guideland fell in with bad crowd.
Where's Mesily?
Mesily is, you can see by Mesily's floating lights that she is moving through the room behind you, heading out into the hallway. I'm going to go ahead and slide you.
Mesily would also like to interview Guideland about his obviously troubled childhood and the hard times that befell upon him, and possibly the family trauma that has influenced him throughout his life. And did you know your father?
My father? Guideland asks. Oh.
Yes, did you know your father?
Well, not exactly. I mean, yes, but I knew who he was. But I didn't ever meet him. He was nasty. He was nasty goblin.
So horrible.
At least that's what Mama said.
Sounds really, really hard. And did you do drugs in your teenage years?
So Guideland at this point sits down cross-legged, and is starts just regaling you with this tale. It's like, it all started out when I was 6 years old, living in the swamps to the east. My mother and brothers and sisters were mud packers. We'd collect mud and stack them into piles, and they would dry, and then we would throw them at passersby for fun. Which is a quite common form of entertainment in Goblin society. So we were, performers. And so he just
of course
people paid you for this?
No, they agreed not to kill us if we threw things at other people for fun. That's a good goblin deal right there.
So I turn to Mutalib and say, "So, door."
Oh, right, door. Yes, of course. And Mutalib kind of turns around and laboriously tears his attention away from this goblin's life story as he opens the door.
So as the door opens, Guideland has just gotten to his 7th birthday party, right? Where he, the neighbor goblins didn't come when he invited them, and it really hurt his feelings. And so he threw mud at them, and everybody thought that was funny, and he thought that was going to launch his career as a mud thrower. But then, his mother didn't want him going into the family business because it was bad news, and he should grow up and be a good murderer like his father was, and blah, 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 blah.
Tragic.
It is.
So many missed opportunities. The pressures of childhood.
So, Mutalib, you open the door, and in the next room, you see that there's a room that's kind of partially collapsed. So, directly to your south, and as you're looking on the eastern side of the room, so on your left, the ceiling is collapsed. So it's actually kind of taken one room and almost divided it into two with this big pile of rubble in the middle. And there's a large table filled with a miscellany of people's things. Not goblin stuff. This is probably caravaner stuff and things like that. There's, you can see in the southern half of the room, there is a rack of kind of nasty, rusty, sharp, bloody instruments of various sorts. And on the western wall, there is a door that has kind of bars that seems to be cell-like. But maybe more immediately pressing is the fact that there are goblins and bugbears in this room who the goblins are standing there, in a little circle. There's 4 of them to the south, and they are rolling bones of some sort. Unfortunately, I'm not talking dice. It's just actual bones. And the bugbear is standing over there talking to one of the other goblins about something, perhaps the gambling that's happening. And the door opens, and they all turn around. Ooh, there's that moment where everyone's looking at each other, and then action occurs. So people react. They initiate, shall we say. So why don't we initiate? By rolling our initiative. Once again. Now yes. So, oh my, Mutalib is on fire.
So really
Yeah.
quickly before we go on, I actually can't see anything on the screen. I'm still at the very first
Really?
opening dungeon. Mm-hmm.
So you're not where I'm pinging?
No, I don't see that at all.
Weird. Okay, so let me double check. You
Yep.
have light, Mesley Temple, and you are controlled by you. Yeah, you should be able to see that. How odd. All right, so I would ask you to hit refresh real quick on your browser.
Mhm.
Sometimes that fixes it. Sometimes not. We'll wait just a moment here, see if we can get Lynn to be able to see our hallway here. I'd hate for you not to be able to see where Guidelin is, you know. It's important. We need that. So according to
All right,
my...
I'm back.
Okay. So according to my... like, I have the ability to see what the token sees, the player. So can you see yourself? A little circle that says Mesley. Okay, cool. All right. So, yeah, I made little just name tokens for everybody. So you're in a hallway. There's a door to the south. Mutalib has just opened it, and you hear a collective group of goblinoids say, from the room as the door opens. And Mutalib, you know, kind of reacts in the way that one does when combat is about to occur. So that having been solved, let me do a quick die roll or two for for the Gobos. Goblins. All right, where are you? There you are. It looks like Guidelin immediately cowers. So the Guidelin does the cower maneuver. Boop. All right. So, despite the nat 20 from Mutalib, Dusk still is quicker on their feet. So you throw the door open and you're like, aha! And Dusk is already in motion. Beyond, like I said, you've got this C-shaped room, like the letter C. And it's shaped that way because there's a collapsed ceiling in the middle of it. And there's a bugbear who just turned around and is like, what? And then you see 4 or 5 goblins. Beyond, you see a door that is where Guidelin, or 2, where Guidelin suggested is the prisoners. What would you like to do, Dusk?
I would like to kill the bugbear.
Kill the bugbear, kill the bug. All right, go ahead.
Oh, well, what's the matter, Mesley? Should we save the bugbear and learn its life story first?
Yes, we should. Exactly.
Well, maybe it'll have its diary on it and we can read afterwards.
It's not the same as receiving the oral tradition from a sacred animal.
I know. So I'm just going to swoop in here and use my sneak attack because it hasn't moved yet. And this should be interesting.
All right, so alas, a 7 is not... Dusk comes in, and there is a lot of gravel on the floor. You kind of slide around in it as you come into the room. So you do, if you have like a dagger or something, you could pull that off and do an offhand attack as a bonus action if you wanted. And then maybe get that sweet sneak attack damage. Or you can use your bonus action to disengage, which would be like to withdraw. Would you like to do either of those?
I will try to use my dagger.
All right.
It dodged. Totally.
All right, so that
That's
hit.
better.
Definitely much better. So, all right, 15 points. All right, so this is you. So what does it look? Go ahead. Let's go ahead and we haven't had a description here of Dusk in action yet, since Dusk has already been wielding weapons a couple times. What does it look like when Dusk attacks? Is Dusk like a fencer or a brutal street fighter, or what do we got here?
Dusk comes in with a swashbuckler's kind of swipe, but with poor footing, and it just misses. And then as they're trying to regain their balance, they pull their dagger and bring it around into the bugbear's side and lodge it there.
The bugbear grunts.
With a mighty scream.
Yeah.
And, hopefully they don't fall to the floor.
Yes. So the bugbear is still standing, but upset by this turn of events. And in fact, in response, the first goblin is going to. Where's the Goblin Boss is in there? So this little goblin runs up next to you, Dusk, and has a rusty scimitar. It swings at you and again whiffs badly, and then does its nimble escape. It's like, oh, I don't want to be standing too close to you, so it moves back. You look scary. Slips forward and slips away. Mutalib.
I'm only covered in a little bit of goblin blood.
Oh yeah, you've got a little bit from the previous encounter, and now you have bugbear blood to add to it. It's a nice, pastiche there. What is Mutalib up to?
Mutalib is going to charge into the room and swing at the goblin to his south.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you take up a position just past the bugbear,
Yep.
and you just drop a goblin. And Mutalib is
then-
what? Go ahead. Oh yeah, you have another.
Oh,
you
and
have
then I'm just going to swing at the bugbear with the next attack.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say you have a second attack, of course. Fighter, level 5. Oh my. All right. So
Indeed.
why don't we go ahead and have, that's the exact number it needed, in fact, as the folks at home can see. Feel free to narrate your entry into this room and ending of 2 of these awful individuals.
Mutalib sees Dusk get in before him and kind of just barrels past her and does this long sweep with his sword that slices through the goblin and hits the bugbear in the back of the neck, dropping them handily.
Fantastic.
Because they're on account of them already being injured.
So Mutalib comes charging in, swings the blade once, twice, and 2 of the goblinoids hit the ground. The goblin and this large bugbear that was quite menacing looking. And at the sight of the bugbear being dropped, several of the goblins kind of quail. The goblin boss, the goblin gutter snipe, the goblin kind of he seems like some sort of captain or something of these goblins. Snarls at you and pulls his blade as well. Mesali, your friends once again have charged off into the goblin killing business. What? Guidelin is cowering here, just not wanting to be involved. Right? Like, don't tell them I sent you. What would you like to do?
Question. Very, very good question. Okay, so I'll move
Yes.
so I can get like a little bit of a view in here. Still well behind Dusk. I want to throw that out there. And Mutalib. So the bugbear's dead.
Yes.
All right, and then there's Goblin Gutter Snipe.
Correct.
Cool. So I think what I want to do is I'm going to like sort of lock eyes with Goblin here with Gutter Snipe,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm actually going to cast Dissonant Whispers.
Oh, nice. All right. So that's a wisdom save the goblin gutter snipe must make.
Mm-hmm.
Oops. All right. DC 14. Let's see how it does. They're not the wisest, the goblin. They did choose a life of crime, but this goblin, there's something about this goblin that looks like, it's been around the block. So it looks at you and you can see that it gets a sudden pang of pain in its head, but it shakes it off and snarls at you too. He's doing one of these.
And it's really Mesli. It's like, the teeth of hell flay bare and gnash thee flat. Lo, art thou not eunuch-hearted king, who fated clipped freed manhood from the world?
And so I think what happens is the gutter snipe goes, wait a minute, what does that mean?
Yea, God's curse and I, slain was the brother of my paramour by a knight of thine, and I heard her whine and snivel, being eunuch-hearted too.
But what's a eunuch?
Swear by the scorpion worm that twists in hell and stings itself into everlasting death, to hang whatever knight of thine I fought and tumbled, art thou king? Look to thy life!
Brava?
I don't think they're fans of the theater.
So the goblin gutter snipe is as confused as he is pained, yet, alas, not sent running as sometimes your audience to your fell orations do. And what that means, of course, is that unless you'd like to do anything else, the goblin boss with whom you were just discussing is going to react. And this, or rather the Goblin Gutter Snipe, I mean. And so this one runs forward and pulls out a short bow. Let's see, how can I do this? With 10 feet? Yes. And there's something on the tip of the short bow. It's like a weird little packet has been tied onto the tip of it, right? And he aims it, and it's a little awkward, right? Shooting something with like a heavy weight on the end of it. And he shoots it, and it lands right in between Mesley and Dusk and explodes. So let's see. That is going to be an attack against. Looks like this. So the goblin makes a short bow attack against both of you, both Mesley and Dusk. So this one, but with disadvantage. So this is against Mesley, and this is against Dusk. Okay, so it's that is both disadvantage, so both 13. So I assume Mesley's armor class is... Oh, that's your number. So Dusk, the arrows, so this kind of little explosion, if you will, hits of arrows hits you, but bounces off your armor. But the other one sticks you rather unpleasantly, Mesley. So this is his retort, right? You've presented your oration, and he's allowed his retort. And his retort causes you 4 points of piercing damage and 2 points of poison damage. You feel a bit offended. This is like somebody throwing rotten tomatoes at you in the audience in the theater. Right? You've delivered your address, and they've responded with such disdain.
Someone needs to defend my honor right now.
Well, it just so happens it's Ren's turn. Do you take up the task, Ren?
So Ren kind of looks balefully at Guidelin and says, "Run. Save yourself. Don't look back." And then he kind of just slumps around the corner. Uh-oh. I don't know if I can get to the... Oops. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's right. You were on top of... So you can slip past Mesley and Dusk, too, as well, if you like. Being a monk, you've got some extra footage there.
Yeah, and he kind of flows past like rushing water and moves the full 40 feet right here. And then he also gets to attack twice. And on the first attack, I'm going to try a stunning strike.
All right.
Or the first attack that hits, I should say. All right, let's see. Frozen water weapon.
So the first hit, the gutter snipe, ready, seeing you coming, deftly sidesteps as your staff, or the staff swings. The staff you formed out of water into ice misses the gutter snipe. But you have a second attack, which hits. So the stunning strike, I believe, is a Constitution save. Am I right? Yeah.
Right. Constitution 13.
DC 13. All right, let's see how they do. They are absolutely stunned. That's as stunned as you can get.
All right. And then I will spend a second key point to Flurry of Blows.
All right. So they are also very badly injured by that, and they are standing there dumbfounded. So you get 2 unarmed strikes with the Flurry of Blows. The first, a solid hit, leaves it teetering on the edge of death. And there it is. Feel free to describe it if you like, since you did a nice martial arts move there.
So yeah, Ren runs into the room, and with a kind of overhand swing, he misses with the first attack, but then he uses that to basically batter the gutter snipe in the knees so that it kind of is, in the air, like it trips over the staff. And then he just slams it down to the ground with a couple of punches. And then he looks at the other goblins. All right, your other friends, before they got to run. So do you guys want to, if that's fine, I mean, you guys might want to stay. He's saying this to his friends, like, if that's okay. Do you want to, should we, how we? Yeah.
So is this sounds, are you attempting to be persuasive?
Right. So initially he started intimidating, but then he's like
transitioned into persuasion.
Right.
Well, then I'll let you pick which of you'd like to roll. But I think you have disadvantage because the delivery was, you could imagine trying to be threatening and then be like, or on the other hand, if you want to go, I mean, you could. Kind of robs it of its intimidation. Wow, it doesn't matter. They're convinced. So, Guidelin, when you gave your old friend Guidelin the chance, he, out in the hallway, run, save yourself. Yes, Guidelin, go. Guidelin looks over at Mesley for a moment, though, and is like, maybe I come work at theater with you someday. Bye, strange person. And Guidelin runs away.
Hello.
The other three down here, the two down here immediately are like, look at each other and just nod. And they then head to the southern door and pass through it. They leave it. In fact, I will open it so that you guys can see out. Should you choose to look out there, it is a hallway. Whoops, wrong button. So they go running around the corner. They take your invitation and split. The one in the corner, there's this one here, however, is kind of trapped. And so it puts its hand, it's like, drops its rusty scimitar and is like, you let go.
And Ren, being a literal pirate orphan, connected with Godlin. And, and a sad story, although being an angsty teenager, he's not going to let on to that. He's still going to maintain that tough exterior.
Yeah.
He's going to step away and give the goblin a chance to run here.
So unless someone else prevents it, this third and final goblin is like, I'm out of here. You
Fair enough.
have fun with the whatever you're doing here. And the splits. So they take off. Right? They are effectively running away. Whoop. So you find yourself in this room. Now, just to remind you what it looks like, it is, let me clear out the turn order in business. Whoops, I grabbed. All right, let me do this. And so you find yourself in this room that is kind of partially collapsed. And there's a table with a bunch of personal effects here. And there's also a table of unpleasant implements. There's also a closed door that has like a kind of a window that's been cut into it. So it looks kind of like a prison cell. And Mutalib and Ren have approached it. And glancing in, you can see what looks to be a narrow hallway that separates that goes into an area that has cells inside it. There's two cells, one in the north and one on the south. And they each has like a metal gate. In the northern cell, these people should be down here. There are 6 prisoners. They look probably like caravanners. They look like merchants, civilians, peasants. And all 6 of them are here. Your characters, remember that there were 6 characters. So this is a thing I mentioned at the beginning. Your characters are absolutely certain that they were told that 6 people were taken prisoner from the caravan. And here they all are. 6 people. We can talk more about that in a minute if you want. In the southern is a single hobgoblin, and he looks like something's wrong with his ears. Right, his ears are rotting, kind of like wounds. Right, and it looks like he's been here for a while. He looks kind of emaciated, like he hasn't been fed. He's been roughed up. Right. And he keeps staring up at the ceiling, unblinking, and there's magical flame dancing around his hand, and he's like, like that, like he's worried about something on the ceiling. Something has removed his ears violently, and he looks rather unhealthy about it. There is also this person's in the north. I keep moving people in the wrong cell. So to the north, you've got all 6 caravanners, at least 6, right? It was 6 out of character. It was 8, just so remember, it's just the characters are the ones getting gaslit here, not you guys. There were 8 characters you were asked to find, but for some reason, your 8 caravanners you're asked to find, but your characters are absolutely convinced there were 6 caravanners you were asked to find. And there's 1 hobgoblin to the south as well. And then there's one, let's see if I've got this right. Oh, no, I did do it right. I apologize. Yes. So there's 6 caravanners in the north, and you can tell that 2 of them are probably like caravan, maybe guards or something, right? Because they are, 2 of them look a little stout, hardier than the others. And then to the south is the hobgoblin. And they look up as the door opens, and they don't. The hobgoblin doesn't. He's constantly just looking at the ceiling. He doesn't care that the door's opened, that you might be entering. The 6 to the north kind of crowd up to the bars and are trying to see who it is. What would you like to do? Mutalib, I believe you opened the door, and Ren is standing nearby.
Yes, the map doesn't seem to let us into the cell area or let us through the door. There's the wall seems to still be there.
There you
on
go.
The map. There we go.
I apologize. I was wondering. I'm like, why aren't you enter? What? What's going on?
Yeah.
Guys?
Are these cells locked?
Yes. They are locked. It would require keys from a jailer, or you could pick the lock.
Well, we've got our Dusk. I believe this one's you.
Okay. Which one first? Do you care?
Well, we're here for the caravanners. We should also save this poor hobgoblin, but the caravan first, I guess.
Okay.
I'm also
I
not
will-
entirely sure if that hobgoblin's going to try and fry us when we go in. He looks pretty on edge.
Well, if I'd had my ears ripped off, I'd be on edge too.
Yeah.
So I shall try to pick this lock.
To the north, the caravanner's lock.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead and roll a thieves' tools check, please.
Thieves' tools. That did not roll thieves' tools.
Oh no! Could you, if you click on the
Oh, hold on.
word thieves' tools on the sheet on the left,
I did.
it might be delayed. Let's see. Right. Oh, that's because behind your thing, it's popping up a query asking you which attribute to use, which is dexterity. I can change it so that it just knows always
No,
to roll
that's
dexterity, because that's what it should do.
Aha.
There you go. Okay. There, I won't do that again. So it is successful. It is easy. In fact, this is just a simple lock, right? This is you've been picking these since you were young.
It's
The
probably just as rusty as all of their weapons and implements are.
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, we'll have. So
Original to the key.
is this something that Dusk has a lot of experience doing, picking locks? Are they?
Yes.
I see.
They are in the acquisitions business.
Oh, okay. So this is old hat. This is easy, right? You could do this probably with your eyes closed. So clink immediately, and the 6 people. Oh, thank goodness. Are you here to save us? This is awful. These people are terrible. We've been here for almost 2 days now.
Good news. We are here to help. Dusk, if you could get the other cell and see what we can do for the other prisoner. How are all of you? Are you hurt? Can all of you walk?
It looks like your belongings are on the table in the next room.
Oh, fantastic. So the 4 of the caravanners are quite clearly not like they're merchants, they're civilians, but 2 of them, one of them is they both seem fairly hardy, and so they go over and there's none of they don't have any weapons here, but they pick up, one of them picks up a short bow from the goblin, and one of them picks up a scimitar from the one of the other goblins, and so they're like, well, we'll make sure these 4 get out safely. If you are okay with that, is it clear if we head back?
It should be clear, but if you see a guy, a goblin named Guidelin, tell him that you're with us, and it should be okay.
Okay, so if I see a goblin and he doesn't immediately try and kill me, I'll ask if his name is Guidelin.
Yeah,
That's
just yell Guidelin. Yeah.
That's odd, but okay. You're saving our lives. This means a lot to us. Come, everybody, come with us. Quick, grab that. All right, let's go. So the two people that were probably playing the roles of caravan guards, you get the impression, were immediately kind of took charge of the situation. They're all beat up and bruised and battered, and they probably haven't eaten or drunk anything in a day or two, but they seem to be okay enough to walk out of here. And so they kind of usher the other 4 people. So all 6 seem to be on their way.
Please tell your names so that I may record them.
So as they're turning and they're kind of like gearing up, they're one picking up a shield and one's picking up the scimitar, and then the civilians are just kind of gathering a few of their personal effects off the table. They turn and like, what? Oh,
Your names.
I'm Aramil, and says
Aramil.
the one with the scimitar, and the one with the bow says, and I'm Evandel, and then the others, say, and I'm, Cramson, and I'm Fernmar, and I'm Gilberta, and I'm Sargon. There. That's my DM's name test for the day. All right. So Sargon.
Your sacrifices will not be forgotten.
And then Sargon goes, whoa, sacrifice. Who said anything about sacrifices? I don't know.
They got pummeled and taken captive. They didn't give their lives for the or give their wealth for the cause. I'm not sure sacrifice is the term to use here.
Sargon takes offense. I'm sorry.
Your trial, your crucible will not be forgotten.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm all right with that. It was pretty trying. Just y'all get out of here. It's dangerous. There's something, I'll tell you. Something weird's going on around here. Did you see what happened to that hobgoblin? And then he leaves. Right? Meanwhile, the hobgoblin on the other side. Oh, by the way, Mesali, while you were standing there because you're in the back of the group, you see a ring of keys around the bugbear's waist that's dead on the floor behind you as well.
Yeah, I think so. Let me know if this is too tricksy, but Mesali has been recording everything in her journal, and she definitely recorded 8.
So, okay, that's good. Let's say yes. So you're recording, and I think. Do you think Mesli's are the kind of writer who just writes and never looks at their old writing, or are they a reviser? No.
There's the one who goes back and edits and like first draft, second draft.
So an actual writer.
Draft.
Okay.
Yeah. No, she is an auteur.
Okay. Well, that's what okay. So let's just for fun, let's see how much information you figure out is going on wrong here. Make an investigation check.
Sure.
Against your own.
Investigation's really bad. Can I do something else?
How about you do it with advantage because you're investigating your own writing.
Okay.
Right. 17. All right. Yeah, you wrote 8. You also wrote 3 historians and 2 scouts. But here's what's weird. Or several hobgoblin scouts. You have literally no memory of writing those things. You're like 3 historians. Who is this nosy dwarf that I wrote here? Nosy dwarf? What? So, what you
Who
have?
on earth is Duemo?
Yeah.
What a silly name I've come up with.
Like, what Duemo? And then you're like, well, this person must be Uptill, the hobgoblin. That's the only person you remember being told needed rescuing, right? So this is puzzling to you. Now, I don't know. You tell me, how would Mesli react into learning that you wrote about Duemo, Ginny, and Uptill and 8 caravanners, but there are only 6 caravanners, and there's no Duemo and Ginny. There's also no hobgoblin legionnaires here. There's a hobgoblin historian named Uptill. How would you have written the wrong thing, or what is it that you are forgetting here?
Now, Mudalib, sir, noble knight of the realm, great shield bearer, blah, 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 we'll do that later. Come here, please.
I come over. I assume Dusk's working on the lock while we're doing this. So yeah, I just come over. What's up? Something I can help with?
So as you know, I've been diligently recording the entire narrative this in this since we started, since we got to the town where there was things happening.
Yeah, that
Right.
sounds about right.
So, in my records, I have how many people were we supposed to rescue?
6.
6.
And one historian.
And yeah, and the historian, who I don't think we're getting paid to rescue, but like they're in trouble. Rescuing's the thing to do.
So while I am at times prone to exaggeration, I am not one for hyperbole. And right now, my records say that we're supposed to rescue 8.
Well, that can't be right. That seems like the... Well, there were 6 of them. Like, we saw 6 of them. They left. They didn't say, hey, they dragged 2 of us off. There are 6 of them.
But I wrote 8. Can I use like a persuasion check or something?
I think, like... you don't need to roll, but, like, yeah, you can convince Muthalib. He's pretty sure he remembers 6. This seems off. Maybe it's something we could ask this, poor historian about. But,
Ren will call back. The goblin said something about jerky. So that probably jerky. The numbers different. Yeah.
Yes, but how many?
So
it could have been eaten. That
Ren,
does
brother
make
Ren.
sense. And the memory kind of starts to just slide away.
yeah,
Maybe-
you're like, yeah. So Dusk, you are you gonna open the other cage? The other
Yes.
So you know, by this point you don't need to roll. I mean, you can if you like to see how much panache you do it. Because you've done these before, you get advantage on this roll, but you can go ahead and take it a shot if you want. But as you're doing that, you see that the hobgoblin in there, he's kind of a scholarly looking fella, but again, his ears are just off, which it's rather disconcerting and unpleasant looking. You know, he needs some medical attention. And he's been staring at the ceiling, but his eyes finally come down and he looks over at Mesali when she is speaking to Muttalib about this confusion. And he starts going, yes, this happens here, yes.
So the first thing I want to do is get him out of that cage because he's afraid of whatever's on the ceiling. So I want to get him away from it.
All right, so you unlock the thing, and he just walks out and stands there rather quietly, just looking up at the ceiling, looking at you all, and looking up at the ceiling, and then when the topic of historians comes up, he says, there were 3. I can't prove it. I can.
Why did I think there was only 1?
Tear off your ears.
My ears are one of my best features. Can't do that.
Yes.
I like my ears. Is there a less drastic option?
Stop them up. And you can see, actually, he not only has no ears, but there are actually bloody rags shoved in his ear canals.
So who here knows sign language?
So how is he hearing us?
He can still hear a little bit, but it looks actually like, no, actually probably at this point he can't hear you. He's looking at you and seeing what's happening. Maybe he's reading your lips.
Okay.
Maybe he just has a sense. Maybe he's listening. Maybe it's all a deception.
Does Ren get the feeling that he's like just regular crazy person, or is he?
Go ahead and make an insight check. So yeah, you get the impression that he is trying. So yeah, well, go ahead and roll your insight check, and then I'll give you more. Okay. So you can't tell whether he's lying or not. You think that he might be being sincere, and the impression you get is he's trying to deafen himself, but you don't really understand why. He seems he seems very reticent to speak. Right. So he said there were 3. He's lost 2 companions, and you should stop. And you should stop up your ears. That's really. And he seems quite upset at the very least, perhaps disturbed.
And Ren goes, yeah, see, I'm not in the habit of listening to people that tear their own ears off. That's just a personal, code of mine. It's on my short list of things not to do. So we can just probably let this guy go, and job well done, right? High fives, everybody. No, all around, we're good here.
So at this point, Mazzelli, you're not sure what the argument you were just having about. Your character is now forgetting that you had just read that there were 8 in your book. And you're like, wait a minute, what were we disagreeing about? So this effect just seems to be ongoing. It's like you keep wanting to forget. Your character keeps slipping away. You're like, wait a minute. We were just disagreeing about, what was it? Say what? Why did I? Right, that sort of thing. And then you look down and you see it on the written page again. And you're like, oh, that's right. So it's pretty clear to you that something's going on. You're not sure what.
All right. Something is going on. I believe we've rescued 3 out of 8. 6 out of 8.
And 1 out of 3.
1 out of 3. Honestly, fellas, the rest might just, the rest might remain unwritten. And that it might be up to the bards and the storytellers of our generation to determine what truly happened here. But I don't think we should continue. This is we're not going to know our first names by the time we get out of here.
There are 4 missing people in here, and a significant bounty on the head of the bandits.
Ren points at Mutella. There you go.
We already have 6 people out there.
While they're discussing this, I want to take some of my extra parchment and crumple it up and put it in my ears just to see what happens. I'm just curious. I don't actually believe him or disbelieve him. I just want to see how it goes.
All right. So so you do this. So while you guys are arguing, Dusk is crumbling up some of their parchment, putting it in their ears. And after a moment, you know how what it would be like. The sound becomes muted. You hear that they're speaking, but you can't hear what they're saying anymore. And you kind of shove it in a little further, and you can barely even hear that. And you're not sure what they're arguing, but you now kind of, wait a minute. There were 8. It was 8. They said 8. They said 8. It was 3 historians and 8 caravanners. You remember that being, your character remembers that Sarana, the survivor, saying that she saw 8 prisoners being taken. And then you remember the town council person saying that 3 historians had gone missing. Dwaymo, Ginny, and Uptill. And this is Uptill. And Uptill says...
And I explain this to everyone loudly.
So, yeah.
You guys try this, it works.
And Ren's like, great, it's spreading now. See? Let's just go in there and kill Vorhaug.
Yeah, Vorhaug, yeah.
Mesley definitely puts it in. And it's just like, we are dealing with unprecedented situations, and I believe we should go.
And they're standing like right next to Mesley.
Right. Well, they've got things in their ears, so it's hard to hear. So
I think it's time for us to depart.
So Uptill looks at you and points, it's like, and says, I heard that. Because you're shouting right in his face. But he reaches into his shirt, and he actually pulls out a small book he's got, and he's now flipping through and taking notes as well, scribbling madly with a piece of charcoal. And he holds it up, and there's 3 names there: Dwaymo, Ginny, and Uptill, and he's like pointing, but there's lines drawn through Dwaymo and Ginny. And
It's time to cut our losses.
I don't think we've lost much yet. I mean, only one of us has really been hit, and frankly, we've been doing pretty great. If there's a chance we can save these people, we should take it.
That's very noble of you, but very stupid.
Uptill scribbles something and holds it up. It says, and you can see that there's 8, just like it's 8. It's some names, and some of them were in fact, you recognize. Oh, those are the names of the people that you asked for. I don't remember any of those names. I made up off the top of my head. Sargon was the last one, right? But there's 2 more names on the list that are scratched out that you didn't hear, and he points to them, and he points to Ginny and Dwaymo, and he says, and then he says, he doesn't speak much, but he says, they took them that way. And he says, it took them.
Well, then
way.
plug up
That
your
way.
ears and let's go that way.
No. He doesn't want to trust you. He's uncomfortable with the situation, and he says, it eats them. They're being eaten.
Time to go. Time to go. Time to fucking go.
Well, if it's eating them, we need to kill it. We need to get rid of it. It's a threat. Plus, we're being paid a lot.
Yeah,
The
that's
most important thing.
Yeah, I think we head further in.
Yeah. If I left every time something tried to eat me, I'd get nowhere.
Maybe you should just let yourself get eaten next time and save all of us from following you into stupid situations.
Fair point.
This is the most absurd thing I've ever done, and there won't even be a good story at the end of it because I might lose all of it. All of my genius lost. Can you imagine? The world would be bereft. I can't allow that to happen.
I hear they're doing amazing things with prosthetic ears these days.
Mesli is just scribbling furiously in her book. Like, she's not letting anything get away from her now.
All right. Detailed notes. You take an inventory of the unpleasant items on the rack on the wall. There is a pile of rubble here that is full of junk that used to be in this room before the ceiling collapsed. Uptill has been you can tell that Uptill is quite it's been a very trying situation. According to him, he showed up with 2 friends, and then 8 prisoners were brought in, and he somehow knows that they were eaten, and he thinks the key is ripping off your ears. And strangely enough, when you've plucked up your ears, Dusk, it did seem that you remembered something that you had forgotten. That's the bottom line of what you learned from Uptill here.
Case closed, ladies and gentlemen. It is time to leave.
But he's
For
having,
the monster, right?
Yeah, he's having trouble. You can tell that his memory is spotty because he's not able to say much more about it. He just knows they were eaten.
All right, I'm going to head south.
All right.
And Ren calls back to Mesli and Dusk and asks him if he remembers how to get out of here. Because if he does, suggest he does, he does that. And then Ren follows after Mutalib.
So I believe Mesli's notes, and I believe the hobgoblin. And so I pull the parchment out of one ear, and I say to Mesli, "Look, I don't want to make you come along with us if you don't want to, but if we go and face this thing and there's nobody to chronicle it, what will happen? So much knowledge, so much that's never been seen before. We need you.
Oh.
Okay.
Your notes will save us all. Just you wait.
I really think so.
I really do.
Okay.
So
They've been the key to this whole thing already.
at this point, Dusk and Mesli, you're again like not sure what you were arguing about. What is it that people were claiming they forgot?
I don't know. I just know I need to make her come with us, and that's all that matters. So that's what I'm doing.
Okay,
Because the rest of them are already moving on and leaving us behind.
fair.
Appealing to Mesli's ego is the way to do it.
So then I'll put the parchment back in my ear, and maybe things will become clearer.
Now you
but
remember. You were
I knew what I
arguing
had to do.
about the fact that there's 8 prisoners and everyone seems to only remember there being 6 caravan prisoners. There was also 3 historians, but everyone only seems to remember the one that's surviving. Wait a minute.
Oh yeah, that was it.
You realize that they're only forgetting the people that are absent. Right? You remember, nobody forgot Uptill. It's the 2 that aren't here that people are forgetting,
So quick, let's go catch up.
that are allegedly being eaten or something, according to Uptill. Though Uptill is, I mean, it's difficult for Uptill to communicate in any way that suggests he's a reliable narrator at this point. But he said those things had happened, and there's something going on for sure, and he is going to leave. So he takes Ren's invitation and leaves. So you head. I'll describe the next room, and then we'll take a short break. You head into a long corridor that must have once been a far larger room, but the whole southern half of it is collapsed. Like much of this place, you can see the effects of its once, 500 years ago, having been a grand castle collapsed and pulled into the earth because of some fell catastrophe. Southern and eastern portions here are cut off by piles of rubble and dirt piled to the ceiling. Glass and wood shrapnel have been brushed to the edges of the corridor so that people can move through it, and the tunnel through the rubble gives off the smell of a latrine. It looks like probably the goblins have been using this for their waste. A few tables are pushed into the piles of rubble, and there's a few sparse but intact beakers, suggesting this was once a laboratory. To the east, there is another door. Otherwise, this room seems empty. In fact, it seems quiet. Smelly, but quiet. And on that note, we'll take a short break for bios, because you've arrived in the latrine, you see? All right. So we will be back in 5 or 10 minutes. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you shortly. And welcome back. I'm Eugene Marshall of Arcanist Press and Sigil Entertainment, and this is Sigil Spotlight. We're a diverse community of tabletop industry creators spotlighting each other's work. In this session, we're playing Basheer Ghouse's It Hungers, a D&D adventure available on the DM's Guild via a link below. We also have Cliff Moore's Way of Endless Tides Monk subclass being featured. Thus far, our group of intrepid adventurers has agreed to travel to some ruins, the Vanier Keep, and discovered that it has collapsed into the ground, and now it's more like a series of caves. So Van Cave, as it's called by the locals, has been turned into a bandit hideout, and they've been raiding caravans, and the party has been hired to rescue 8 caravanners. And oh, by the way, 3 historians have gone missing too. When they arrived, their characters were remembered it differently. They remembered that there were 6 caravanners to rescue, and 1 historian had been gone missing. And they fought some goblins and bugbears that were occupying the place, the aforementioned bandits, and arrived with the help of a well, friendly, actually, goblin named Guidelin got played as the guide goblin, you see, to the prisoners' cells, where they discovered the 6 caravanners they were expecting, but they also, and the one historian, the hobgoblin Uptill, had removed his ears and tried to shove rags in them. He saw that there was some confusion because Mesali, our local resident bard, has been taking copious notes the whole time. And when she went back and reviewed her notes, she realized she had written down 8 caravanners, but could only remember hearing the number 6. What's going on? So the Uptill suggested, through, in a way that was kind of, disturbed ravings of someone who would tear their own ears off. So perhaps not the most reliable source, that they've been eaten, that he claims he did arrive with 3 historians, or in a group of 3, but the other 2 have been eaten somehow, and he's concerned about being eaten himself, and he thinks the solution to avoid being eaten is to tear your ears off and block them up so you can't hear. This did not convince very many. However, Dusk, while this was being discussed, did an experiment and blocked up their ears, only to discover that they then remembered, no, it was 8. And when they removed the things, they did not remember that. They thought it was only 6, and so on and so forth. Something is manipulating the memory of those that have been taken, or rather the memory of them about those that have been taken. They've now pressed further into this collapsed ruin, finding themselves in what used to be probably an alchemy lab, but the ceiling has collapsed and it is now being used by the goblinoids here, the goblins, bugbears, and so on, as a latrine. And that's where we took our bio break. I'm going to make that joke again, right? So we will now resume our adventures. Somewhere in this place, there are missing people. Well, in principle, at least according to some memories, but according to other memories, everyone's been saved. Nevertheless, there's still a bandit leader to take care of, and that's actually one of the things they were hired to do. They were hired both to rescue the missing caravanners and also for 300 gold pieces to kill or eliminate Varhug, the bugbear bandit captain. And they believe that Varhug lies a little bit further into this ruin. And that's where we are with our characters again. So we resume. You find yourself, all 4 of you, in this collapsed alchemy lab. I'll move you all in here. To the north and east, there is a doorway. To your south, there is rubble and the remains of an alchemy lab amidst the rocks. What would you like to do?
Does it look like there's anything salvageable in the alchemy lab in the rubble?
You could search. Go ahead and make an investigation check.
Investigation.
As you approach one end of the rubble, the smell of the goblinoid latrine is so strong it stings your eyes, and you see nothing.
Yeah, don't go that way, folks. You don't want anything over there.
I'll try to search the other end of the rubble,
Fair
away
enough.
from the latrine.
Fair enough. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Currently seeing the value of tearing off my ears just so I can stick them up my nose and not smell this.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, this isn't going great for us. Anyone else want to give searching a shot?
I do. Mesli is very curious as like just a general rule. She'll do some investigation here.
So you find yourself in this alchemy lab, poking around. Ren makes the mistake of walking towards the west over here, where the latrine is, and only to find it is just an offensive smell. Mutalib and Dusk kind of kick rocks around and see nothing but rubble. But Mesali enters, surveys the scene, and just hones right in on what is a case that has rocks on top of it, but seems to be intact. It's partially open, kind of broken open, and you can see inside there's a notebook And that's really what catches Mesley's eyes. But there's also some glass tubes and some dried powders inside them. Looks like an alchemist tool set, as well as the research notes.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, so she definitely takes those notes. Absolutely. I don't think that she knows much about alchemy besides like the usual bullshit she uses for like pyrotechnics, but even then she is dancing lights as a cantrip, so she doesn't like super need pyrotechnics. She can do plenty on her own. So I think that she would like look at it and she would sort of flip through the notes a little bit to sort of see if there was anything there that she recognized.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, as you read through the notes, guess what it says? The research notes are about something called the Ruby Crown. And they discuss in detail its ability to edit memories.
Yo, guys, I just found the name of my next masterpiece. It's going to be an operetta named The Ruby Crown.
Well, but
Everybody, honestly, this plot hole has been bothering me for the past 10 minutes, but I finally figured it out. And nobody's going to see it coming.
Yeah. So as you flip through the notes, it's really interesting. You get the impression that these were the notes of one of the Vaniers. In fact, it's signed M. Vanier. This is the family that allegedly ruled around here.
Yeah, the mages.
Yeah, and it also says, as near the end, the author reports that there's another feature of the crown that they haven't been able to figure out yet.
Huh. The plot thickens.
Dun, dun, dun. So, yes, it doesn't seem like there's much else hidden in the rubble here, as far as you can tell. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that she's going to keep reading through this. Is there anything in the like alchemy set that she might consider that might like look valuable maybe, or like look unusual?
I mean, the alchemy set is something that you can use if you do alchemy, or you could sell if you want to turn it into some coin. Otherwise, probably, I mean, unless you have a need for just some chemical powders. You know, if you put it in somebody's eyes, it would burn, that sort of thing. But so if you wanted to be creative with it, I'm all for that. But I would leave it to your imagination.
Yeah, I think Mesley's
nobody else. Sorry?
Yeah, I think Mesley would sort of like walk away from the case, but obviously since she's been there, like the case is pretty obvious at this point. But she's very absorbed in this notebook. I think absorbed to the point where she's just like, and there's some weird dust, but
Dusk will walk past and pocket some of the vials.
Yeah, you've got some vials of several materials. You'd have to investigate them further to try to determine their nature, but alchemical compounds. Old, but maybe still potent, you're not sure.
Cool.
All right, so the door is here. And how will you linger in the latrine / alchemy lab or press on?
I think the fact that it's a latrine is going to merit some haste here. Mathullum's going to go for the next door, just on the grounds of latrines suck, kind of definitionally.
Fair.
Or well, I guess we're like pneumatic suction, but you know.
Right.
You know what I'm going for.
Yeah, this isn't even a medieval latrine. This is a collapsed room that goblins are using as a latrine. You just walked into an open sewer. No, you just walked out. Congrats. You're now in an odd L-shaped room. It was clearly once much larger, but rubble, again, blocks off the southern portion of the room, and it's been cleared just enough to expose an ancient wooden door, rough wooden walls. These, the rough wooden walls are clearly goblin work. And they've been erected to partition off a large section of the room. So basically what you walk in and you see this wall here, this is like a wooden goblin barricade's been put up. There's an ancient door here on this side. There are also long wooden benches with dishes scattered among them. And these are all rough-hewn or repurposed from some other furniture in the place. This looks like this is a place where perhaps the bandits ate.
Ren will put like a hand up to his ear near the like goblin wall and try to hear if there's anything on the other side or if he can hear through it.
Yes. All right. So go ahead and roll perception. Which door? The wall, the goblin wall. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and roll perception, please. And then I will say, when you entered first, Mutalib, because you entered alone, the shadows here are weirdly. They weirdly danced when you arrived, almost like people moving around in the darkness. But you'd look and there wouldn't be anyone there, and then you'd see somebody off out of the corner of your eye, and you'd look again and there was nobody there. Fortunately, your companions shortly after joined you. So Ren, as you put your ear to the door of the wall, one of your companions is right behind you, breathing on your neck. It's really unpleasant. But when you look over your shoulder, there's nobody there. They're not.
And when he leans forward to, listen and then feels something like on the nape of his neck, sort of like, as a kid, he like just jabs backwards with the staff, but then there's no contact. He's like, what's that about, guys? What are you doing, folks?
Go ahead and make, just for fun, make an attack roll.
Ooh, okay. Those are rolling well.
Yeah. You swing your staff over your shoulder and hit something, but you turn around there and there's nothing there.
And then when he does turn around, he sees that there's nobody within 10 feet.
Yeah, 10 feet away is Dusk and Mezzale standing there walking in, and Mutalib is 20 feet to your, off to one side, peeking around the corner. You do, at this point, however, Mutalib and Ren, both of you hear what sounds like movement from beyond the wall, the kind of goblin wall. It sounds like you guys have been making enough noise since nobody's declared their stealthing, and there's talking going on, and now a strange thump has been issued from the staff. He's striking something, or seeming to at least. It sounds like there's a reaction in the other room. So I'll ask each of you what you'd like to do for one thing, and we'll see what happens next. Mutalib, you're closest to this door here, which is where you hear the sounds of movement and activity coming from. What would you like to do? You've got a few moments, you think.
I'm just going to move over here and prepare myself for whatever's coming out at us.
Excellent. So you turn and face this goblin-built door, most likely goblinoid. Ren, you hear sounds on the other side of the wall, and something just breathed on your neck, you think maybe, but you turned around and you think you might have thought you hit somebody, but there's nobody there. And now you hear sounds of somebody maybe coming soon.
So, he kind of jabs backward with the staff and feels it connect more solidly than he had intended. So he's like preparing to apologize, but then there's nobody there. So now he's mad again.
Right.
But then everyone else is kind of just not even paying attention, or they're gone. So how solid of a wall are we talking? And is it from floor to ceiling? Like, is it something that can be vaulted over?
No, it's floor to ceiling, but it could be knocked down, but it's built by goblins, but it is built, so.
Okay. All right, then let's not get too crazy just yet. And he goes and stands up here with Mutalib.
All right. Dusk, so you see Ren walk up and listen and then swing his staff over his shoulder like he's swatting at a fly or something, and then look annoyed, and then head towards the door. And you see Mutalib and Ren seem to drop into a position like they're expecting trouble. You didn't hear anything. You were a little farther away. What would you like to do?
Also, I still have my ears plugged.
You do? Okay. Yeah, you, good call. That's good to know.
But
All right.
They are readying, and I know what readying looks like. So I'm going to come over here and, let's say over here, and crouch in the shadows and try to go stealthy.
All right. So you crouch near the kind of the ornate wooden door, in the whole area is dim. Mutalib has a lamp. Mesli has some floating dancing lights. Mesli, what would you like to do? So your companion seemed to be expecting trouble.
Yeah, Mesli as well has like plugged her ears. Also, I want to note that those dancing lights definitely look like little like floor lights that are just like revolving around her gently.
Lights, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, just like very on point. I think that she's actually going to be a bit dumb and sort of like not being an artiste, an auteur. Might not really recognize when people are like preparing to fight other things. Because that's not how blocking works. Frankly, it's all wrong for a fight. So Mesli is actually going to follow Dusk over to the door, and I think that she is going to inspect that door.
All right. Go ahead and make an investigation check as you do that. And then
Will do. Investigation.
Oh, wow.
Ooh,
Okay.
hello.
This door, you think, has a trap on it. Yeah.
Whoa.
As you're looking at this door, you see that there is, it looks like, an apparatus containing a bladder of some sort of gas, probably poison, you're not sure. And it has little runes on it, seem to be hidden. The mouth of this little bag seems to be hidden inside the locking mechanism. So if somebody were to try to open the door or pick it, it would trigger this.
Yeah, I think Mesli would see that and like she would just be like, "Oh gosh!" And I think that she would like hit Dusk really hard, or not really hard, but like very eagerly hit them on their shoulder, just like Dusk, 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 Dusk.
Yeah.
No.
Dusk, listen, this door is booby trapped. Why would they do that?
And at about that moment, this door flies open, and
Oh my god.
out,
Wait for you.
out comes a fella, a big, larger than average, angry-looking bugbear. Here's a little image of him, if you'd like. Snarling. Who comes into my domain? So he is a bugbear. Sure, you've seen those before, but he's a little bit larger and stronger than some you've seen, and he is holding on to a ruby crown in one hand, and he's got his big morning star in the other hand. And behind him is a human that is, or no, I guess that's, am I right? No, it's a bugbear that is dressed in some sort of robes. And they look ready to fight. So perhaps we should initiate. Make sure you click on your token. Because this is King Varhug.
All right.
Ren is on point.
Oof. The rest of us aren't.
The priest is dead last. All right. Wow. Okay. You guys got the jump on them. You were ready. So King Varhug throws open the door, steps out. Ren and Mutalib, you're just standing there.
Oh boy, he's big.
Yeah. Mesli, you have told Dusk this. You look over and see the door open and this fella step out. So you're all going to get to react immediately before he actually gets to do anything. Ren, you're first. You are quickest on the draw. The bandit captain, whom you've been sent here to kill or stop, just strode right out at you like a gift.
And yeah, seeing this bugbear sort of towering over him, Ren's like, whoa, hey, and takes a step back.
Mm-hmm.
here and sort of whips the ice staff at the bugbear, and as he does, it turns back into liquid water and it wraps around him. So I'm using spending 2 key points to activate Water Whip,
Water whip. All right.
and that is a DC 13 Dexterity save.
Yes, it is. So that is a hit. So you do the damage, and then you can pull him towards you,
Okay.
or knock him prone, I believe.
Yeah. So I will knock him prone.
All right. And the damage is 2d10, is it?
3d10.
3d10. Wow. 25. All right.
Nice.
So you just wallop with this bugbear and knock him on his bug barrier. Sorry. He thwack right upside the head. He tumbles backwards to the ground, right on his back. Oh, grunts with pain. Yeah, I believe. Yeah, so that is what you did. You got anything else you'd like to do?
No, that's it for me.
All right. So, Messerly, you just see Ren's staff turns into this liquid form and thwap, knocks the bugbear down. There's behind is you can't quite see, there's a figure you glimpse through the doorway behind this fella, but that's all you can really see at the moment. What would you like to do?
So we all know Mesli is one for a little dramatic irony. So I am actually going to cast a spell on the bugbear, and specifically that spell is Crown of Madness.
Yay, I like that. There's the irony.
So I am targeting King Varhug. He needs to do a wisdom saving throw.
It's as if his use and proximity of this ancient archaic item has rendered him resistant, or perhaps he's already mad.
Good Lord. And then of course Mesli is quoting.
Yeah, what does Mesli say to try to drive this bugbear king magically mad?
You ready?
I'm ready.
O mightiest, answered Mesli with a groan. O king, and when he paused methought I spied a dying fire of madness in his eyes. O king, my friend, a friend of thine I be. Happier are those that welter in their sin, swine in the mud that cannot see for slime of the ditch, but in me lived a sin so strange of such a kind that all of pure noble and knightly in me twined and clung round that one sin until the wholesome flower and poison grew together.
Mesli, Lord Tennyson, Temple, ladies and gentlemen and gentlefolk. All right. So, alas, though, the king on the ground, his eyes flash, his hand grips the ruby crown more tightly, and it's as though he is somehow resistant to your magical charms. Dusk. You can move, of course, Mesli, if you'd like, but Dusk, you are now in action. What would you do?
Okay. I shall move up 1 to get a good view of the prone king, and I shall use my ice knife against him.
Oh, all right.
Boom.
All right. So the ice. So you shoot. The way it works is you shoot a spear of ice, a dagger of ice, if you will, a knife, dare I say, that strikes or misses the target. And in this case, you don't actually hit the bugbear, you hit the ground next to him, but then it explodes and hits everything within 5 feet of the location, which means it hits him anyway, and with the cold damage, and the priest standing behind. The priest. So they both, they have to take 2d6. It's the under the cold.
2d6 cold, yes.
Yeah, so they both need to make dex saving throws. I think the king on the ground is at disadvantage myself, because he's laying on the ground. The priest is not on the ground, so how do they do? They both take the full damage. All right. So this ice shard explodes and just peppers them with shards of ice, cutting into their skin. You hear the grunt of pain, and as the ice cuts into them, and that you can move if you like. Otherwise, it will be Mutalib's turn.
Yep. So I rolled my 2d6.
Yep.
So.
No, the spell was successful in damaging both of them.
All right. That was more cinematic than Dusk usually goes for, but Mesli's rubbing off on them, and that was kind of fun.
Here you go.
All right. Mutalib's just gonna get in there and try to jam himself into the doorway so Varhug can't get at the others. And while he's prone, I will take my stabs with advantage.
You certainly will. Oh, 2 hits and 1 a crit.
Nice.
So that is 19 total points of damage. My goodness.
Yeah. And I just stalk forward, start stabbing, and say, Varhug, you are wanted for banditry, for murder, for kidnapping, and for abetting whatever monstrosity haunts this place.
He snarls at you, and it is in fact his turn. So he will leap upwards, standing, and yeah, he did not get to do that. Let's see here. Yeah, so I'm making sure I've got everything here. Oh, that's fun. All right, so he swings the Morning Star. One hit, 2 hits, but the second does not hit. Because your AC is 18, I believe.
My AC is 20.
Oh, 20. Whoa, that's right. And the shield. Okay. So the first does hit, though. So the first, he stands up, growls and snarls at you, and then clang, hits the Morning Star off of your heavy armor, buckling it a bit, cutting into your side. You take 10 points of piercing damage from the spikes on its head. The second one, however, does deflect, not hitting a solid blow off of your armor, crashing into the wall near your head. Let's see if he's got anything else he can do. He puts his the crown on his back on his head, and then he draws a hand crossbow in his other hand. He doesn't have anything else he can do just this moment. But I will say, you need to make a strength saving throw. Because when he hit you so hard in your weapon arm that if you fail this throw, you will drop your weapon. That is this ability.
And that also deals extra damage, doesn't it?
Yes, it does, actually. So that one had not been included in the strike. So add a 7 more on top of that.
So I am going to use my Stone's Endurance ability to roll a d12 plus my Constitution modifier and reduce the incoming damage, because 17's a lot.
It is. Do the Goliath thing. All
Even
right.
as me, 17 is a lot.
So
okay. Take
that down to 10.
All right.
And that is King Varhug's turn, and he snarls at you, and behind him, another bugbear. Let me make sure I've got this here. Oh, actually, the one behind is a goblin. My bad. And the goblin holding is, in fact, you can look through past King Varhug, and you see that there's this partition section of the dining hall. There's a lantern hanging from the ceiling. There's this enormous bugbear having this grand ruby crown on his head, and then there's this small goblin holding a staff that's tipped with a bloody eye. There's a table with a map on it. So this is like the war room, right? You can tell they had been planning. Varhug is in half plate, so he is pretty hefty. And the lantern above is hanging flat, but then all of a sudden it just starts swinging, which is like a little distracting. But this goblin priest, in fact, or should I say priestess, you now see, raises her hand, and blast of radiant, or rather necrotic energy shoots out at you. Let's see how she does. It misses. So this blast of energy shoots out from her hand past the king. But the king has made such a large figure that you in front, even you, the Goliath, have a lot of cover from this large bugbear. So the blast shoots right past you and just cascades off the wall in this like sparkle of explosion of sparks. And you hear her mutter under her breath in a goblin curse. So that, let's see, is all she's going to do. Now, right about that time, something happens that is, let me make sure I've got this right here, because I think this isn't fun time for this to happen. Yes, I think so. You are all there fighting these creatures, and then suddenly from behind you, Ren, something tries to bite you. Now you won't, I want to make sure this is secret here. I don't want anybody to see this, so let me do it this way. Something appears behind you and tries to bite you. I'm just going to do this in vanilla 1d20s. Okay, it misses. But you feel something try to bite you because you feel something bump into you and you feel teeth rake across your shoulder.
And he kind of dodges, instinctively, or in the way that he's been trained, and kind of whirls around to fight this new oncomer.
All right. As you spin around, at first you don't think you see anything. You get a glimpse, right? It's like you think for a minute you see like a face. But then you don't see it anymore. But right when you turned around, as it was withdrawing from you, you think you saw something. But now, dusk. You see something.
Do I see something?
Yes, you see something bite at Ren. So I think I will be able to show you just you, what it looks like. So imagine, let me do this so just you can see it. And of course the folks at home can see it, but I want to play along with the rest of you for a moment. So I'm going to make it so that only dusk can see it. Do you see it just popped up?
I do.
Okay, so one of those heads came out of the ceiling and snapped at Ren and then withdrew. And it's just hanging there like serpentine-like. But what's weird is Ren looks over in that direction and doesn't seem to be reacting in the way you'd expect. It's as though he can't see it. But you can.
Okay. So
before,
it's at that.
Yeah, I just wanted to describe it. You'll get to go in just a moment after Mesli reacts, but you can see it. Ren can't.
Okay, but it's at that spot where the icon is.
Yes, that's exactly right. That's the.
Okay.
That's I wanted to use an anonymous one because I want to maintain the mystery for a little longer.
Yeah, totally.
All right. So Ren,
Okay.
Something bit at you. It's disappeared. What would you like to do?
So Ren just stares at the spot, then looks around, and he says, "All right, we got to hurry up. There's some kind of ambush or something it's something invisible." And he turns his back to Mutalib and like basically uses Mutalib as cover to get around to the other side of him. And then can he attack Varhug from here? Or
At the Varhug will have some cover, but yes. And also, just for the record, when you move away, you feel something take a swipe at you again, but it doesn't connect because I'm rolling very poorly. All right, so you slide in next to Mutalib, and the King Varhug is standing there, just right in the doorway, with his Morning Star. And behind him, you see a goblin priestess that is, wielding a staff. And yes, you can hit, but Varhug has 3/4 cover because you've got a swing attack between Mutalib and the doorframe.
Okay. You know what? Instead of doing that, I think Ren is sufficiently spooked now that he's going to dodge.
Okay. So you just want to do like the dodge action, not
The
the
dodge action. Yeah.
silent
not the
patient
key
defense or whatever. Okay.
No,
Cool.
no, not patient defense.
All right. So Ren, you drops into a kind of defensive martial stance and surveils the situation. Surveys the situation. Mesily, Ren just kind of ran over into combat. As far as you can tell, it's just business as usual for this gang. Mutalib and Ren are beating the crap out of some bugbear. What would you like to do?
Mesley's a dummy. She's gonna do the exact same thing. She's gonna try and cast Crown of Madness on King Varhug. Just in case, like, maybe he's been distracted, or perhaps the grip on the crown, or the ruby crown is loosened. So
Okay.
there it is one more time.
So I'll go ahead and throw this in here so you know. So as the creature he has advantage against this. So
Oh.
yeah. Hrugek is one of the bugbear gods. But
But
what was your number? What's your DC?
I think it was 14.
14 or 15, yeah, depending
Yeah,
on
14.
what your charisma is. So yes. So guess what? At this point, you perform another rhetorical flourish, and it's funny because where the ruby crown sits, growing out around it, a twisted crown of jagged iron magically kind of grows across and like almost like vines growing up out of his head and wrapping around the ruby crown. And a strange light comes into his eyes, and he starts to laugh maniacally. And that's when you know the spell has taken effect. Would you like to perform the spell?
I do have a small performance planned, if you guys don't mind me like reading tonight.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Go for it.
There he watches yet, there like a dog before his master's door, kicked he returns. Do ye not hate him? Ye know yourselves, how can ye know peace? Affronted with his fulsome innocence, are ye but creatures of board and bed, not men to strike? Fall on him all at once, and if ye slay him, I reck not. If ye fail, give ye the slave mine order to be bound, bind him as heretofore, and bring him in. It may be ye shall slay him in his bonds.
There you go. I think everyone should agree that 19th century bard is best bard. All right. So with that, the crown of madness takes hold of King Varhug, and indeed you can see its effect in his eyes. And he starts looking around kind of at his priestess and Mutalib with the same relish in his eye. Dusk, you saw what you saw. It's still there, bobbing around. It took another swipe at Ren when Ren withdrew. It turns and faces you. It is most definitely, you're in biting range.
It sees me. Okay. So I yell to everyone to plug up their ears. And I take one of the vials of unknown alchemist powder that I just palmed, thumb the vial open, and throw it, the powder, not the whole vial, in an upward diagonal trajectory toward this thing to see if maybe coating it in stuff will either harm it or make it visible.
I like this idea. All right. Go ahead and make however you'd like to do this. It's going to be some sort of dexterity check. So you could make it as just roll your dex, or you can roll a weapon attack, and I'll adjust accordingly. Whatever's easiest. I want to see a d20.
Okay. I'll, since it's kind of a thrown sort of attack, I'll make it like a dagger attack, I guess.
Mm-hmm. That works. Nice. Okay. So, yeah. So you throw this, and
pick the yellow one if it matters.
Yellow? Oh, yes, it does actually. So, is it weird that I know what goes in an alchemy kit in real life? So, let's say that's sulfur powder.
As do I.
Right? Yeah. So the sulfur hits this creature in its face, and its eyes slam shut, and you hear all of you hear a strange, awful moan sound come from echoing through, almost as though it's from the very building itself. You're like, what just happened? Yeah, that was successful.
And I will again tell people to plug their ears.
All right. So that is through sulfur in the guy's eyes.
Back up a little.
Yeah, whatever that happens to be. Yes. Well, now that its eyes are currently closed because of the sulfur in them, it can't see you. So should you move out of its reach, it does. Well, it already used its reaction to take an opportunity attack, but it wouldn't get another one because it can't see you. All right. So, Mutalib, you hear Dusk shouting about plugging up your ears. You hear this strange rumbling roar from all around you. You're not sure what's going on precisely, but you do know that King Varhug is standing in front of you, wanting to kill you. What would you like to do? Although now he's taken on a different demeanor, let's say.
All right. I'm going to try and plug up my ears. If we're yelling about this in the middle of a fight, it's presumably important. Is that going to take a full action, you think, or?
Yeah, because you'd have to tear some cloth,
Yeah, that's fair.
Pull something out. It's kind of 2 interactions.
Yep. So yeah, I will stop. Like Muthalib gets, I guess, like wax for sealing letters and just stuffs them in his ears.
So as a noble, right? He's a noble background, right?
Yep.
So I totally believe that he would have like sealing wax in a signet ring for his formal letters back to the aristocratic in-laws or parents or whoever, right? Yeah, I believe that. I'm not sure I'd believe that Ren would have sealing wax on him, but totally Mutalib. All right. So it's cold. You normally you melt it to make the actual seal, but you don't need it to be that soft. You just force it in there.
Yeah, just stick it in and hope the eardrum damage isn't too bad.
Mutalib, it was totally 8. It was totally 8. They were right. That's weird.
Huh.
King Varhug is going to use his action before moving on each of his turns to make a melee attack against a creature other than himself that you mentally choose. Mazelli, there are 3 within range: Ren, Mutalib, and the Goblin Priestess.
Please choose the priestess.
You get to choose.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, Mesley is absolutely choosing the priestess.
Mesley Temple, you choose. All right. So King Varhug is going to make a melee attack against bam. I don't think that hits. It does. Oh no! The Goblin Priestess is also wearing half plate. This is like the Goblin War Priestess here, and so the Morningstar clangs off of her armor, knocking her back a foot or 2. But she is like, "What are you doing?" She shouts in Goblin, probably. So she shouts, which seems to be a sign of protest. So it makes a melee attack. That's different from takes the attack action. So that means it just does 1 attack, not its 2. Priest.
Before
Yes.
before this happened, I did want to, in my last turn, like run up and get do my dash action to like get the crown and run away, but we sort of moved on pretty quickly.
I'm sorry about that.
Don't worry about it.
So you've cast the spell. You then want to run up. You've got your movement and then like try to swipe the crown off his head. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, he dropped it, right? He was holding it.
No, he put it on his head at the beginning of battle. Like he even did that before he could take his instead of his hand crossbow attack.
Yeah.
He gave up an attack to do that.
I wanted to try and snatch that.
You'd have to snatch it off his head. So you can try that, but that would actually take an action to do. You know what I mean? Like it would be a contested roll. Although he would maybe be a little distracted right now, but like next round. So you cast the spell this round. Next round you can try to do the grabber.
Okay.
Because that's a an action to do. Take something away, disarm somebody like that. All right. So do you want to stay up there? Do you want to move your token up into melee range of King Varhug, or do you want to wait till next turn to do that?
Yeah, I'll get like here.
Okay.
Maybe that's close here.
Yeah. There you go. Okay. So King Varhug has knocked the priest around. The priest is going to retort, and again, the priest looks up at the crown, scowls, spits, does an incantation, and the crown fizzles into dust and falls away. Yeah, she just dispelled your magic. Not nice, priestess. But that's her job. Booster boss. So right around that time, something tries to bite you, Messerly. I will roll my naked d20 here. Just to keep it secret for a little longer. Oh, okay. So that's going to be a hit. And you take this much piercing damage as sharp teeth, 9 points, dig into your shoulder with a chomp. It hurts. These are fangs cutting through your armor. And you glance over at the bite, and there is this awful, twisted... Is it a lizard? Is it a snake? Is it a skull? What is that? Chomping on your shoulder. Trying to eat you or bite you. Yeah, that's unpleasant. It is now Ren's turn. So the king is in front of you. Dusk is yelling about plugging your ears. When I get to Mutalib's turn, I'll describe what you might happen to see with your ears now plugged. What would you like to do, Ren?
So being a monk, can Ren plug his ears with his fingers and then still kick things to death?
Yes. You just can't. So what you'll do is you'll just do all unarmed strikes.
Okay. So, and can he see the outline of something covered in sulfur now, or how does that work?
So here's the thing. You just, even if you see it, right. So thank you for that. So even if you see it, it's just like you forget a moment later.
Okay.
So you put your finger, you look over and you're like, didn't she just do something over there? I don't remember. But then you put your fingers in yours and you look over and holy cow, and Mutalib, since you are also, actually at this moment, all four of you are temporarily able to see it. Mutalib and Dusk and Ren, because your ears are now plugged, and Mesli, because it's right in the moment when it's biting you. So I will go ahead and reveal what this thing looks like to all of you.
Yes.
So, because it's fun. And it's, the thing. Here you go. Did that show up?
Oh.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so this is like, imagine one of those heads that's sticking out of the ceiling, like periscoping around, moving around in this undulating snake-like way, and just taking a chomp at Mesli's shoulder. And it's got, oh, by the way, it's got this big line of viscous drool in a nice straight line dripping right out of it onto the floor. And you're like, hey, I've seen that.
Yeah, just
I
slowly realizing what was dripping onto my shoulder and freaking out appropriately.
You shaped that water there, Ren.
Oh.
Or at least from one of these heads. Maybe there's more than one. You don't know.
So Ren, with his fingers in his ears, he sees that and he sort of screams, ceiling snake! And he runs and basically tries to kick it.
All right.
Using his last key point to try and kick it 4 times.
All right. 2 attacks and then your flurry of blows. So I like the idea that this thing is also hanging from the ceiling. So you're like doing this like jump up, whop, 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 3 kick.
Right? Yeah. 3 kicks and then jumping off of the wall, like parkour style, trying to use it.
All right, so this creature is not wearing armor, but it does have a tough hide. So you got one more to go.
Oops. And where is it? There it is. Okay.
Okay, so the first and the fourth one, really you manage to, you hear it crunch and feel it really connect. The other two, though, it just feels like you're punching like a punching bag or leather, right? So it is able to absorb those two. But the other two, it takes, and you can hear the pain that you're inflicting here. So that is, it has that many left. Okay. So yeah, it kind of flails around in pain, and you hear this awful moaning sound again. You'd heard that once before, didn't know what it was, and then forgot about it. There it is. Okay, Mesli, you're up. So your spell has been dispelled by that nasty priestess. Something just bit you on the shoulder, though, maybe a little more pressingly, and then Ren ran up and started kicking over your shoulder, and I don't know what. Something bit you. Your character is having trouble remembering what it was. Something nasty just bit you on the shoulder.
My character does have like ear things in.
Oh, Mesli did put him in?
Yeah, Mesli put them in when she
okay.
and Dusk were hanging out.
Okay. So then, yes. So you don't forget what it is that bit you. Yes, I apologize for that. I thought you still had.
That's nice.
Yeah. So something bit you. You see it. You turn around. It's there. You can see it now visibly. Now that the sulfur has kind of like, you can see like where the sulfur's hit it, and you can see where it's biting your shoulder, and you can see Ren smacking it around, jumping up and doing these flying scissor kicks or something across the room.
Gosh, it's all bad. It's all bad. I think Mesli for sure is just like, sweet is true love, though given in vain, and sweet is death, which puts an end to pain. And like faints on the ground. She's a little useless in this sort of situation. But I think she does that, and she is attempting to give some bardic inspiration to Dusk here.
All right.
With her plaintive couplet.
Lovely. So Bardic Inspiration is a bonus action, so you still have an action to take, should you like. You're not currently actually grappled by the bite. It's just, took a bite out of you. So you can move away with the Disengage Act or attack or speak to it, whatever you'd like to
do. Let's see. I think maybe it's one of those things that, like, no, I'm not a metagamer. I'm not that kind of person. Mesli just falls to the ground, does a dramatic couplet, and tries to inspire Dusk. All right, that's it.
Right. Fair enough. It is a serious bout of Bardic Inspiration coming your way, Dusk. And should you choose to use it, it is your turn. So you see this creature, this serpentine creature's head is sticking out through a hole in the ceiling. Like there's more of it up there somewhere. And it is bitten at Mesli. Ren's attacking it. You hear King Varhug over there fighting and roaring. He doesn't seem to be having any reaction to the appearance of this snake, or maybe he's familiar with it. You're not sure. What would you like to do?
I would like to take a flying acrobatic leap and try to behead this ceiling snake.
All right.
Since I'm so bardically inspired.
You are, absolutely.
Totally.
And I think also the image of Mesli like prone on the ground, like very like enacting a very, very dramatic death.
Yes, we must save her. Let's see how we do with this.
All right, so if you want to hit it, you'll have to use that Bardic Inspiration.
Yes.
All right.
I don't know how to do that on here.
Oh, just it's a D. I don't know if it's a D6 or a D8 at level 4. It doesn't matter though. You only needed a 1. It's a D6. Okay. So at level 5, I mean. So so you hit just by declaring you're going to expend that. Cool. So that's a 19, which definitely hits. So go ahead and you can roll your damage and your sneak attack because you've got allies in range.
Okay. So the sneak attack is 3d6.
I believe so. At level 5, it goes up to 3d6.
Yep.
So it'll be 3 plus whatever you roll on the 3d6. All right, so 8.
Oh, that was great.
But okay, so you stab this creature. It is now hanging, kind of half limp, and slowly trying to bite. Weakly, having trouble. It's badly injured. You can see this green ichor leaking out of its wounds, dripping onto the floor to match its line of disgusting drool. But it's still chomping. Anything else you'd like to do, Dusk?
So many things. Yet. I think I will, well, I'm not still back there. So I think I will go to Mesli's side and make sure she's still breathing.
What?
It was too convincing a death fall.
That's right. It's fortunately it looks as though acting genius. Thank you. Was happening. So she seems okay.
Okay. But that's what I do with the rest of my move.
All right. Mutalib, you're up. The bugbear
All right.
king has regained his faculties.
Yeah, I'm going to move my longsword into 2 hands and just start hammering away at him.
All right.
To try and get him down as quickly as physically possible.
Take the whack.
22 for 7, and then a miss.
Miss. Anything else you'd like to do?
I'm going to action surge and keep doing it.
Yes, excellent. Swing away. All right. So unfortunately, King Varhug has half plate on.
Entirely.
So again, you just rain a flurry of attacks down here. Clang, clang, and again, you're dinging and banging up his armor and pushing him back. But only once do you finally manage to slide your blade through his heavy armor and connect to bugbear flesh. So he is bruised and battered, but still standing. And he says, "It'll be mine, all of it. They'll remember me the way I want them to." He brings his morning star down twice. Misses twice. He then finally has his hand crossbow, because last round he was under Crown of Madness, and is going to aim it at Dusk, because he can see that Dusk is not far, though he'll be shooting with disadvantage because he's in melee. So it's a miss. All right. The priestess behind him, is going to aim as well at Mutalib, again releasing a blast of, this time a little boosted blast of crackling divine energy, which slams into your chest for 12 points of damage, sizzling you in your plate, like scorched across the chest, and you feel your flesh beneath it blister. Ren, once again, there's this head here hanging from the ceiling, this awful thing. What do you do?
Ren is going to attack. Again, he's going to basically leap at the wall, jump off of it, and then, try to smash this thing like a nasty piñata.
With your fingers in your ears while you're doing it.
Oh, that's right. Fingers are still in the ears. So, yeah. It's kicking it.
All right. So with that strike, you actually hear a decisive crack, and then this head starts rocking limply, as though you have killed it, disabled it.
And then fingers still in the ears. He runs back over here and is trying to kick between Mutalib and the doorway.
Yep. And it's a 3/4 cover, but you can give it a whack.
Yeah. Try to hit Varhug, in the shins or something.
That's a tough one. Oh, but that'll do it. That'll get through there. Wow, nice roll. All right. With a thump, you slide through with a kick him right in the side. Oh, He grunts in pain.
And then a bonus action unarmed strike as well.
But that one, there's just no way to get through with, Mutalib, the Goliath, and a doorway. It's just too much to block you. You can't really get a good hit on there. Mesali,
Yeah.
the thing that had been trying to bite you seems to be rendered inert. You look up and see its gaping maw and a nasty tongue lolling to one side, limp and slack, drooling down in a pool next to you, dead. It seems to be safe over here for the moment. But from your angle, however, you have a unique angle laying on the floor because you can look into that room past the priestess, and you see that actually up on the ceiling in the back of that war room is another one of those heads. And it's watching.
Liest thou here so low, the child of one I honored, happy dead before thy shame? Well, it is that no child is born of thee. The children born of thee are sword and fire, red ruin, and the breaking up of laws. I think that she casts Shatter.
Nice. Okay. So that's on the
on
two. Yeah.
On the second one.
Go ahead and roll some damage. And so if you want, you could probably hit the other head and if you place it in the right way, you can hit them two and Varhug and the priestess too if you like. Just blow up the whole room. It's not that big a room.
That sounds great.
All right, so Khan from the priestess. Here comes.
Oh, damn it.
Oh no.
King Varhug. Oh my gosh.
Oh no.
And well, you won't know what this means, but no, not initiative, silly. I hit Khan. There it is. Okay.
All right.
So this is probably the effect you wanted anyway. So your words reverberate through the air, and as the reverberation moves through the air, you see the air itself begin to vibrate and blur, and it blows past Mutalib, Varhug, and the priestess like a breeze, like a wind. But when it finally reaches its crescendo in the other room and explodes in a thunderous clap of energy, it just explodes that other head hanging from the ceiling. And it still does, 9 points of damage to the priestess and Varhug. They just managed to weather the worst of it, although at this point they're looking pretty bad. But the other head hangs limp now, ruptured. Dust.
Ruptured is a fun adjective.
It is. It calls to mind certain things. Dusk. It looks like Varhug and the priestess are the only enemies left in sight.
And they're not doing too well?
They're doing very poorly, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to take my ice knife and I'm going to hurl it at the priestess.
Yes. Excellent.
And I'm going to go back to the other page.
Okay, so the 9 means it doesn't hit, but it explodes and does the 6 points of damage to both the priestess and Varhug. They have to try and make dex saves to take less. And they've been rolling very well in their saves, but I see Varhug still does well. So he manages to survive a little bit longer. The priestess is very near death thanks to that. And so these ice spikes explode and stab her from, at her feet. They explode up into her face. Blood now rolling freely down. The bugbear grunts and stumbles a bit, but is still up. You've been chipping away slowly. Anything else you'd like to do?
I think that's about the only useful thing I can do.
Well, that was plenty useful.
I have enough movement. I mean, I can move, but I don't think I have enough action to do much else.
Yeah. So, Mutalib, it seems it falls to you to see if you can't. Yes, second wind. Very well.
So bonus action, second wind to heal myself.
All right.
11. That's pretty nice. And then let's see. I'm actually just going to cast Magic Missile.
All right. On Varhug or the priestess?
I'm going to put one on the priestess
Okay.
and the others on Varhug.
All right. So roll the priestess one first, I guess. We'll see how that does. All right.
Oh no! It rolled Absorb Elements for some reason.
So that's it. Wrong spell. Let's try again. All right.
Not what I needed.
So would you like 2 for the priestess?
Yeah, 2 for the priestess, 1 into Varhug.
All right. So that is absolutely enough for the priestess. You can go ahead and roll the damage for the Varhug one. See how that does.
So the way Magic Missile works, you just roll it once, and that's what all the missiles.
Oh, you like to do it? Okay, I roll them separately, but okay, that's fine.
Oh, okay. I can roll them separately then. Sure.
Sure. I mean, I usually, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I'm not going to complain. I got a 1. That's a nice boost in damage there.
Yeah, there you go. Now you got a 5 instead of a 2.
All right.
So your 3 missiles fly out, and 2, they swirl through the air out of your hand and unerringly strike their targets. 2 of them, poof, poof, quiet pops against this priestess, but that's enough after the explosion of the ice and the shattering thunder of the recitation to bring her to the ground. King Varhug takes his right in the chin, and he looks like he too is on his last legs, but he is not yet ready to give up.
Okay, and I'm going back to Sword and Shield, so I've got back to AC 20, and it's his turn.
It is. So he raises his Morning Star once more, brings it crashing down, and hits no times. He at this point, his arms fall limp at his side. He sighs and he says, "It was all a lie. That monster said I'd succeed, I'd be famous. It's all come to nothing." Ren.
And Ren, finger still in his ears, is like, "What?"
Yeah.
And just tries to kick the guy repeatedly.
All right. So at this point, yeah, I think we are at the end of this guy's life. All right. Feel free to tell us what that looks like.
Yeah, so Ren darts around, fingers in his ears, darts around Mutalib, and kicks the slumping Varhug in the knees. And then when Varhug kind of leans down, he leaps off of Varhug's leg and then knees him in the chin.
And with that knee to the chin, you hear a resounding snap. And his body goes limp. The life goes from his eyes. He falls to the ground, and when he does, the ruby crown clatters onto the ground, rolls to your feet, Mutalib, and falls to rest on your shoe.
All right. Yeah, I'm grabbing that. I assume that's where we're calling it for today.
Yes. So at that point, that is congratulations. You have saved the prisoners. At least all the ones that seem to be around anymore. There were more now, but they seem to be gone. And Uptil said that they had been eaten. And you defeated the Bandit King. So at this point, in principle, you could call it a day. We, the players, will be doing that, though, because it's getting late. And so if, at this point, what we normally do is we do a little, what are called Stars and Wishes, where we talk a little bit about what we enjoyed and highlight anything we wanted to highlight, and then say if there's anything we'd wish for in the future sessions. If you've got still a few more minutes, Basheer, it'd be great if you could stick around to hear this, but it's up to you.
Yeah, I've got a couple more minutes.
Okay, so let's see if we can't make this relatively quick or brief. Linda, would you like to have any stars or wishes?
Yeah, so I'll admit it. I kind of like going back to just a straight up dungeon crawl, so it was kind of fun. I think wishes. I think it was pretty good. I understood what was going on. I think the only thing is I'm a sucker for characters that know each other, so I would have liked that at the beginning. But D&D isn't built for that. Other than that, I really liked it. I thought it was fun. I enjoyed it, and I'm glad that I got to recite a few passages from my opus, the Ruby Crown.
The Ruby Crown, future great work.
Here.
What about you, Gabrielle?
This was a lot of fun. The reveal of the creepy ceiling snakes was just, I mean, wow. And I'm sure that what was on my face was on everybody else's face when it was finally revealed to them. Because you all looked pretty horrified too. That was awesome. And knowing that thing was there and nobody else could see it, that was. But I liked it. I think it was serendipity that we got the Goblin Guide. Wishes I would like to see the rest of the dungeon. So I feel like I need to play this again.
Definitely. Fantastic. What about you, Cliff?
So I like the foreshadowing. Like you laid the groundwork at the beginning, because I was thinking something completely different other than drooling ceiling snakes, invisible drooling ceiling snakes. So, that was pretty top tier. I normally don't like dungeon crawls. I like things that are more directly narrative based, but sort of the tracks that you set here made me enjoy this where normally I wouldn't. So, that's a good work. That's a good job.
I'll throw in mine, and then I'd love to hear from you, Basheer. I enjoyed it. I really liked the getting to do the little bit of, spooky foreshadowing. That's always kind of fun. I like creepy stuff, right? I like creepy stuff a lot more than like straight up horrific things. So I liked up in the creepy a little bit. That was fun. And Guidelin, I always love weird, goofy NPCs. So thanks for letting me do that, everybody, as players. What about you, Basheer? Did you have anything you'd like to highlight? This was your adventure, so thanks for that.
I had a blast. I really liked what you did with Varhug and the foreshadowing. It was great to get to see someone else like go through and interpret the stuff that I'd put in the module. Like my only regret basically is that I couldn't go into this blind because I wrote it. So like I was kind of nervous about that. I'm a little sad I couldn't go into this not knowing what was coming next, because I know that was affecting how I was viewing what was going down. But I had a blast being part of the thing I wrote.
Awesome. Well, that's what we're all about here. That's what we do. We like to highlight each other's work because it feels it's a lot of fun for all of us. I mean, all of us have a blast doing this, and it's especially fun to highlight and be highlighted. So I'm down with that. Or should I say, since the show is Sigil Spotlight, to spotlight and be spotlighted. Got to work on my branding, I guess, huh? All right. So that's it for everyone tonight. Thank you for joining us. We have a show Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern, next Tuesday at 11 a.m. And then we will be right back here 7 p.m. Thursday next week. Have a good night, everybody.